issues, but after a while, I kind of like to mess around and bullshit a little bit. Hopefully, we can get a good running stream today. We are live. This is Nick, the progressive martial artist. We have my friend, much anticipated. Actually, I think is that Jackie? Who just hopped on here? Oh, that's RJ. We having a special episode today. I guess. Nice. So we just got started. So let me do the intro again. No worries. This is Nick, the progressive martial artist. This is a long time coming. The hype is here. Finally have the Meganator, Killjoy Meg, in the house for our deeply serious political show. And we have a special guest. I don't got you in credit. I didn't know you was gonna jump on today, but we welcome your presence, my good friend RJ. So we're gonna have two Fred Hampton leftists in the house today, cause Jackie should be hopping on here soon. I told her 3, but we don't have no schedule, so I'll just hop on when I get the chance. So let me find my YouTube.
An ally.
Yeah, Meg is here for emotional support. So RJ in the house. What's going on, brother? What's going on?
Jackie may be pissed at me, so just FYI.
Why?
Oh yeah, I know why.
What did you do?
I definitely fucked up. I definitely messed up, but you know.
How did you piss off the queen? She's the boss here.
Because we're supposed to go over
how
to do streaming and stuff, and so I was watching a video on FDR before we did it, and I was in bed and I fell asleep. So
and Jackie was like, "Where you at?" I was like, "Oh shit, RJ's in trouble." I was like, "Thank God that's not me." All right, so let me turn my YouTube version now.
You pissed off your manager, Nick. I don't know what he's gonna do.
So I'm gonna just call this the Fred Hampton leftist panel on my tweet on the YouTube one, because we're gonna have RJ and Jackie here. Meganator is a supporter, so we always welcome supporters. Fred Hampton leftist panel with Jackie
plus Meg.
And RJ. That's good. I just want both links to be out there. So we already got people in here. We are here. We are live. We are waiting for Jackie to join. Maybe I can add Jackie to make a Zoom link so we can have all 4 of us on here without any issue. I think we may do that here soon. I was just about to look at the comments. Be fair. Forgiving Cheese in the house as well. Rocky Flame. So we already got the people here. So that will happen when I actually have a schedule. See, that will happen when I actually have a schedule. You guys know what time I'm going to be live. So I'm shooting for 3 o'clock every day this week. So once again, we finally got Megan in here. RJ's here as well. RJ, what's on your radar, bro? What's on your mind? What are you thinking about right now before I get into some of the comments here? I see A-Box already dropping some knowledge. I want to see what's on you guys' mind today. I have some thoughts today. I have some thoughts. Some things I want to talk about. So RJ, you got anything you want to chime in before I start my first story today?
Things been pretty boring. Apparently Trump is making his own social media platform, so now we have to go on Parler and his to troll the right-wing idiots.
Yeah, I need to. Yeah, I need to get.
That it's been pretty boring, you know.
Yeah.
Extremely boring.
Yeah, mainstream political discourse right now for me is so whack. It's so boring to me right now because we are just stuck. Now that we have a Democratic president, we have his media allies playing defense for him, and then you have the right wing. You have Donald Trump and his MAGA allies, Fox News, Ben Shapiro, Dave Rubin, all those people. They are not serious at all as well. So, and then we actually look at what Biden is actually doing, being a puppet of Israel and implementing trickle down economics. I mean, there are some rebukes to Reaganism mixed in there, but that because of massive social pressure. Every opportunity he had and every chance he had, he pulled all economic ideas to the right, and now they implement even just a very basic, the first real progressive economic plan in a very long time, and now we're going to be kind of stuck here. Biden, Kamala Harris was one of the main reasons why a $15 minimum wage was killed. One of the main permanent aspects of what the rescue plan will be about. So we actually now because we're gonna talk about the border crisis as well. I mean, there's so much disappointment, almost constant lies that are coming out of this administration. I don't know how anyone can be happy with it. But when you actually look at the right wing response to it, they agree with him on the substance of a lot of these issues, a lot of the complaints I have. So they focus on like the right wing always been dumb, but this is about as dumb as I've ever seen them. Like they've been talking about Dr. Seuss for like an entire week. We still have this obsession over cancel culture that obviously doesn't exist. I mean, look at the people in power. If cancel culture actually existed, Joe Biden wouldn't get anywhere near the White House. We couldn't bring him down. Nothing stuck. There was scandal after scandal, and nothing stuck. Go ahead, Meg, and then RJ can chime in.
I mean, cancel culture does exist, just not for the people in power.
Exactly.
It's not the people who are in power who are getting canceled. Because even if you look at Louis C.K., like, he decided, I can just come back, not a problem, after everything that he did. Like, there's no cancel culture for people who are actually have power. Not at all. It's the people like you, like Kyle Kalinske, like getting, like, YouTubing the left. And, like, have you seen percentages that those shows have been going down over the last couple months? It's ridiculous. They're getting silenced. Yeah. And that's who gets canceled. It's not.
Yeah, you're
ridiculous.
Yeah, you're 100% correct, and they are purposely misleading people on this issue. This is the problem, because once again, what you're saying, correct. When you look at the people who are actually getting canceled, it's the people who don't have power. It's the people that the establishment they have an interest in silencing and canceling these people. I mean, if you look at the people that actually canceled, Julian Assange was canceled by our state. Was robbed his First Amendment rights. Chelsea Manning was canceled. I mean, when you look at the left media that's constantly taken down on Facebook, I mean, they were saying they was going to take down misinformation, but what they actually did was take down anti-war pages. If you're an anti-war journalist and you're going against the establishment, those are the people that you silence. I mean, once again, I released a video just outlining the white supremacy of the police, and they demonetized that. So I mean, these are the people that actually impacted. But this has been a long time. This has been a long time thing in culture. This isn't something new. I mean, this is something that we always knew that was going to happen. I mean, these seeing people of the working class and people who are anti-establishment being crushed and silenced is a long-standing tradition in America. But what the establishment does, they take this concept of a cancel culture which you say is 100% real, but then they try to pretend that it's something that is reflective on the elites. Meanwhile, they are given the platform. They have unlimited amount of resources, and there's no such thing as actually canceling these people. Because once again, the best example I give when I would talk about people of power is, I mean, you have Joe Biden. I mean, a guy who should have been canceled multiple times. I mean, he was canceled in the 80s. I mean, back when he was a plagiarist and he ran a horrific lying campaign where he was lying about every single thing, which he's doing the same thing now. The only difference is we have a media that's much more subservient of power. So that's kind of my assessment. So they actually are wrong about cancel culture, but you're right about the fact that we have an establishment that crushes dissenting voices and people are that's not convenient to them. So what do you, Go ahead, man.
You can even look at Nathan Robinson. Look at Nathan Robinson and what happened with The Guardian. Like, he had an opinion about Israel, and so they decided to cancel Nathan Robinson. I mean, one tweet about Israel got him canceled by them. That's ridiculous. All the fear mongering about Israel is disgusting.
Talking about not being able to cancel someone. Look at this. Forgiving you to put this in chat. I saw this earlier. I didn't know if I was going to address it or not, but I mean, this kind of stuff we already knew.
About Shanice being canceled. Yeah,
I mean, this guy can't even caught saying racist stuff consistently and being a straight up moron, but he would never lose his audience. I mean, this is what sells. So once again, does cancel culture exist for this guy? I mean, I don't want to even read this, but just know it just anti-Asian nonsense here to almost a comical level. So these are the people that have a much larger platform than me. People who are making a ton of money grifting off our movement. So when do these people get canceled? I mean, does that really exist? I mean, when you look at this is actually horrific. Once again, I'm not even gonna read it. I'm already giving this more time than I planned on. But I mean, once again, I think when it comes to someone with his level platform, we gotta at least bring it up. We gotta at least bring it up. So I didn't want to talk about it for too long, but I want to bring RJ in because I know RJ has some thoughts that I want to get him chime on as well.
Oh yeah, I wanted to say like the culture war stuff. You're actually wrong. It hasn't gotten dumber. It's the same level of dumb. It's just not as effective. So, like for instance, like when the Republicans back in 2008, oh Obama, communist. What they would do towards Obama is they would throw everything at him, and whatever Obama bit on, it's like a fish with bait. As soon as you bite the bait, then you know that works every time. So the right wing, what they do against Obama is they say, oh, you're a communist, oh, you're a socialist. They do these culture wars with the birth certificate. They force Obama to release his birth certificate. Like, Obama, what are you doing? So it's like, so the right wing knows how to push his buttons. With Joe Biden, he doesn't play that game. He's boring old Uncle Joe, wearing aviator sunglasses, looking ice cream. He doesn't do anything. He just shows up sleepy, talks like he's drunk, and then falls on stairs. So he doesn't really do anything exciting. So
yeah, it's a good defense from. It's a good way to actually to kind of deflect it on Biden's behalf, and that's why I actually made a pretty bold claim. I think it was a week ago I tweeted this because I mean there's a pretty big consensus right now that there's going to be a red wave in 2022, which I didn't even harshly disagree with. But I was telling people that you understand that politics is actually, as it is right now in America, it's a two-team game, and even though I will argue the Democratic Party is running everything horribly, and they gonna hurt their brand in the long term by betraying all their campaign promises the way they have, and having an unhinged foreign policy and immigration policy that just like the administration that they just criticized. But at the same time, there's another team that has to do a good job at winning over vast amount of support. And when I look at what the right wing is kind of focusing on, I'm seeing them being dumb as well, and that's what I was saying in the lead up of the election. I was telling everyone like, yeah, Joe Biden is running a pretty shitty campaign. His campaign was pretty much ran by the media, and he was just making blunder after blunder. I mean, it wasn't anything spectacular on his end. But once again, MAGA ran an even dumber campaign where they was trying to paint Joe Biden as a far left Antifa grandpa when you guys can just call out his corruption. Like called out his lies that he kept saying on the campaign trail, how he was clearly not fit for the job. I mean, there were so many legit attacks that they could have levied on Joe Biden, but they were just doing this stupid nonsense. So once again, they do, they can do the basic stuff like RJ pointed out, and they can have a baseline of support that's on the right. But I mean, that's only there's only a certain percentage of those people. If I see them continue, and once again, you never know if they're going to shift, because I actually see Josh Hawley, he's breaking campaign records, my horrific right-wing senator in Missouri. I mean, people don't like Josh Hawley, but he actually attacking it from a fake right-wing populist angle where he's calling out the Democratic Party for being the party of Wall Street and big tech. He conveniently leave out the... I know you chime in, RJ, but he conveniently leave out the fact that he takes big fossil fuel money, and Republican Party still out as well. But I'm talking about the strategy. He actually attacks it as a populist way. So now he's breaking fundraising records. So the classic right wing might struggle, but what happens when you got someone who's actually more competent, who don't forget the Trump game plan run against them? You never know. So RJ, what's your thoughts on that?
I was going to say Josh Hawley. See, if he didn't do Stop the Steal, he'd be very well. There's two things. If he didn't do Stop the Steal, he actually followed through with his vote attached to the culture workers. Many times he stands on the Senate floor looking pretty, saying nice stuff, and then he votes against what he actually was for. So if he actually did those two things correctly, he'd be even more popular. He'd be even more, to me, he'd be dangerous. He'd be the nominee in 2024.
Yep.
Because he has all the guts. I mean, let's be real. Republicans can't be ugly anymore. Culturally, they have to be appealing at face value. Like, no one's going to vote for a fucking Henry Kissinger anymore. You have to look pretty. You have to sound pretty. You have to fake. That's why Joe Biden, when he was running, every time he was pressed about a question, he'd smile those pretty white dancers, and he'll give you the old grandpa smile, and all the boomers would go crazy. So you have to find some way to be appealing. And if Josh Hawley didn't do Stop the Steal, he'd be in a much better position, because apolitical people say, hey, well, he was for this, he was for this. So
yeah, so
he's fucked overall. all, but like he could have been in a way better position.
Yeah, so he could have been a much bigger threat if he didn't fall for a lot of the once again dumb right wing media led culture war stuff, because these politicians they had to feed into it because the right wing media has so much influence on their base, and instead of just focus on the issue, I think it would actually be more effective on their end, and that's kind of what helped Trump win.
Your mic's off. You dropped out.
Yeah.
I mean, your video's off.
Oh wait, 1 second. Okay, I think I'm back now. Okay, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what happened in my Discord, but I am back. I was saying
it's canceling you. Your Discord is canceling you.
I was saying that Josh Hawley got caught up in the dumb right wing led media culture war that they tricked their base into being into, and the politicians had to follow suit. But people need to learn to separate how they feel about the politician when actually discussing what you think is actually going to happen, because everyone is causing a ruckus about Marjorie Taylor Greene and Josh Hawley, but I mean, if you look at it, their constituency loves them because Josh Hawley actually just broke campaign records. I mean, I think it was his personal best records in the last financial disclosure month, and then Marjorie Taylor Greene like literally about double, quadruple her original total. So the liberal media is actually making these people more popular because they're trying to fill the Trump void to help the media, the ratings get back up. Because we're going to cover that later today as well about how the media is tanking on CNN and MSNBC. But what was you about to add on to that, RJ?
I was going to say, it's the same way that Democrats were able to fundraise when Obama was in office. See, Obama, he could, give these speeches about how dangerous the Republican Party is, which is true. But at the same time, he'll use fear-mongering techniques and the whole, black base, people of color base. They'll give all types of money to these corrupt asshole Democrats, and they wouldn't do shit for them. It's the same way for a Republican Party right now. They know Trump's not in the picture. Trump can't tweet. Trump can't manufacture controversy in the media as willingly. He still can, but he can't do it with a match to a flame like he used to. So now they have to use proxy sources like Marjorie Taylor Greene, Josh Hawley, Tom Cotton the other day. So they have to use these figures to not only fundraise for the party, but to upload their own public image.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Let's see what some of the comments have to say. Rocky Flame said, "Damn, Josh Hawley is your senator." Yep, I'm from Missouri. We have no luck here. There is no breaks. I mean, that's why I was super excited when Cori Bush won. Because I have criticisms of their overall direction as a caucus, but I was still happy to have someone who is supportive of defunded police and supportive of Medicare for all winning in my state, because my state is a hellhole. Because even when you had our crazy right-wing senators lose, they lose to Claire McCaskill. And she is about as horrific as it gets. I was super happy when she lost, and I danced on her political grave. Because when she ran as a Trump Democrat on immigration. That's the kind of relief that we usually had to deal with in Missouri. And then I try to remember, I think it was Tom Atkin. I try to remember the name of the person she defeated. But then he was a senator.
And
he was the guy who said, women have defenses for rape or something. So it was bro, every single senator that we get in Missouri would be horrific. And Josh Hawley is just another example of that. But he is if it wasn't for those political missteps that me and RJ just went over, he could have been a much dangerous threat. But you never know what will happen in the future if he makes a few good political calculations. But as it is right now, even if we don't like Josh Hawley, which we do not, I'm just saying the objective fact. I'm not praising him. The objective fact is that he's breaking fundraising records because of the resist Twitter and Blue MAGAs propping him and Marjorie Taylor Greene up, and they are doing that for likes and ratings because their ratings are tanking right now because they don't have Trump as a vacuum. So what they were trying to do, they're trying to replace Marjorie Taylor Greene and Josh Hawley and make them as the new Trump so they can have someone else they can fearmonger and get ratings about. So I just explained to you guys what that's really about. Because if you
solidarity here.
Yeah, did I miss something in the chat? Let's see what else is going on here. Rocky Flame said, "What would be amazing if Cori Bush ran for Roy Blunt's seat and won? Doubt it would happen though. Yeah, it'll be one hell of a fight, but
Yeah, we need to find someone for Marco Rubio here in Florida over the next couple of years. Because the solidarity from Florida, considering we have,
Yeah.
Marco Rubio, who was the water drinker.
Yeah, good luck
I'm
with
sorry,
that.
Marco Roboto. Rick Scott, Ron DeSantis. We're floundering here too. So solidarity to you.
Like, people need to understand, in Missouri, it's a deep red state, but we are able to get progressives like Cory Bush who win because St. Louis and Kansas City are relatively blue cities, despite the fact that we are in a red state. So it'd be very interesting to see if Cory Bush can hit on the corruption of Roy Blunt, run on a rural populist message on as well, like expanding rural broadband, expanding Medicare, expanding a lot of these things that you can win over the right wing base with. And you look at the fact that a lot of right wingers support Medicare for all. What would happen if we? Once again, I got a lot of criticism of these people, but I want to take all my shots, and I want to say that if Cory Bush did run against Roy Blunt or Josh Hawley or anyone in the Senate, she wouldn't be the favorite, but I'll help. From being from Missouri, hell yeah, that's a fight I'll take. And then if she became a senator, I would proceed to criticize the fuck out of her because that's people who get mad at me for criticizing Bernie's squad, which I'm about to get into some Bernie criticism too here very soon because it's New York Times.
Yeah, we can definitely talk about that.
But once again, I'm able to be as critical as I want from my point of view because I do what I can to advance the left wing movement by any cost, even if I'm very disappointed. And I understand people who just completely turn off electoral politics, and I don't see myself. Once again, that's just a monumental political task to take out one of my crazy right wing senators with a progressive. I want to take that gambit, but for a lot of cases, I'm not willing to invest in a lot of these races. It just had to be something of that significance, and I don't blame people who don't want to invest in that at all at this point. But that's where I stand.
I mean, the only person I've ever donated to was Bernie, and I only gave him $8. So I'm a cheap mofo. But, I think too what's great is that AOC just endorsed Nina Turner for Congress. The queen of the princess of the progressives just endorsed the godmother of the progressives. So that's a good sign because AOC needs leadership. Because Lord knows she's suffering by herself.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, more people. The more people they can get, the better it would be. I mean, once again, once they get in, we would just continue to make their life hell. That's why I don't understand people who are reflectively defending them when I think we should pretty much be their number one enemy. I think they should be the number one enemy of the establishment, and we should be their number one enemy if they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. That's where I stand. I tweeted about this earlier, and I kept the story open for a while because usually New York Times have me locked out because I'll be damned if I pay for that. But I wanted to discuss the current direction of Bernie Sanders, and so I'll let people know I'm discussing this. Do you guys have any initial thoughts while I tweet this out, like on Bernie in general? I'm gonna discuss this story. I still haven't put up a New York Times because they let me read the story for free, so I kept it up for the stream. So I'm gonna go over that soon. Give me 1 second. I want to tell them I'll talk about this. But while I do that, what are you guys' thoughts before I get into the story?
Well, Bernie Sanders, the more I do research, the more. I mean, look, Nader was right, of course, but we were trying to say no, Nader. He made his mistake back then, and he's different now, and this is like okay, but the whole point was like Bernie's now, like Biden is basically his best friend. It's his good friend Joe, so he wants to do whatever he can to be a good little Democrat. That's why he's, and also too, like even the Democratic establishment, they said, look, if we just get Bernie on our side, all the other motherfuckers are gonna fall flat in line. They literally posted that in an article. So Bernie Sanders is, like we said, in fast speed, sheep herding progressives in the Democratic Party, willingly, by the way.
Yes, and once again, if I see someone who's
ironic, of course.
Yeah, if I saw someone who was fighting and they were just being politically outmaneuvered, that would be one thing. I'm like, fuck. All right, let's get back to the let's huddle up, lick our wounds, and figure out what's going on. But what is concerning me about Bernie right now is Bernie is kind of acting as a shield. You know what I mean? And that's what I found very interesting about this New York Times article. And at the end of the day, I don't think Bernie Sanders is necessarily corrupted, or do I think he's sold out. But I do think he's trying his best, doing what he thinks is best to help working class people. The problem with Bernie Sanders is just if they're not successful, if the Democratic Party shuts them out, it's kind of like, meh. Oh well, we tried. Can't be critical of my good friend Joe. That's what's really concerning me right now. What was you about to say, RJ?
I said, well, the thing is that Bernie is shields, for instance. So a shield. So Bernie is taking all the attacks from right wingers, and the Democrats are using him as a shield. So think of it this way: anything bad that happens, it's Bernie's fault. They take the hit at his popularity, while Biden stays relative neutral. That means anything good that happens, it's all Biden's fault. It's never Bernie's. So that's basically MSNBC. If you look at Bernie right now, even some of the people that voted for Trump and apolitical people, they like Bernie Sanders. The one thing they say is, look, if Bernie complains all the time about how the Democrats are weak and they're not strong enough, why are they kicking his ass? You know, he's not tough. He doesn't know how to stand up. And like it's one thing to be for something, actually stand up and fight for it. And so people saw even in 2016 that fighter attitude that Trump had. And they said, well, I might as well go with the guy who wants to fight and can win than a guy who necessarily is right about the policies but then can't win, because it's kind of useless in politics.
Yeah. You got anything you want to add, Med? I didn't want to interrupt. Anything you want to add? Because once again, I got this story pulled up, and I want to actually represent his views accurately, so we can kind of read along with it. So once again, not a big deal if you ain't checked it out. So we can kind of go at it as a team here. But I'll try to be fair, because I haven't honestly been listening to Bernie Sanders a lot. I see a lot of his tweets and I kind of cringe. We just go in different directions. But when I'm seeing, so I decided to read this and give him a fair hearing. Trying to be fair as I can. Let me get it pulled up here. But it's kind of from the article here. He was asked about the American Rescue Plan, and he pretty much just repeats to some of these few articles. He pretty much repeats the Democratic Party talking points when it comes to the American Rescue Plan, which is, you can celebrate the win because once again we don't get a lot of progressive policy passed, but we should be fighting on pushing back on the capitalists when it comes to the poverty rate, and pushing back on the fact that this is only temporary and we can be doing much more. And you should be constantly calling out Kamala Harris and Joe Biden for not fighting on the $15 minimum wage. And what the biggest thing is I found kind of interesting, and this is what will make Joe Biden's administration really hard to deal with, is that when you look at the squad and Bernie Sanders, it's like there doesn't seem to be a real plan to move your agenda through. I mean, he talks about what he want to get passed early on in the interview. I mean, he kind of doing his stunt speech here. So let me find it here.
Before you
go ahead.
Into it, I'm gonna say is that Bernie is allowing the establishment to use him as progressive cover. See, Bernie is doing all the fighting, while Joe Biden says, "I'm president for 4 years. Who gives a fuck?" So Bernie's out there touting what Biden is going to do, and Biden's hanging him out to dry. And
Biden is not making it.
Yeah.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. Biden is not making it easy for him.
And kind of going off of that, like just piggybacking off it. So he has Bernie on one hand going, "Oh yeah, Biden wants to do this thing. He wants to do this thing and this." But then on the other hand, you have Joe Manchin saying, "Well, you're not going to be able to do those things because I'm going to work with the Republicans. Like, you can't get anything done unless some of the Republicans are going to be voting for it. Because if they're not going to vote for it, I'm not going to vote for it." So you have, exactly. So you have Bernie basically cheerleading, and then Joe Manchin acting as a shield for why he can't get anything done. So they can talk out of both sides of their mouth. Exactly.
And once again, the biggest issue I'm having right now is Bernie Sanders is being used as a shield of the establishment to quell the anger of the working class and the grassroots activists who are rightfully upset that this package does not go far enough. That there's so many promises that Joe Biden failed on when it comes to $2,000 checks. I mean, he's still having a immigration crisis, and he's being complicit with the illegal activities of ICE that he can't get under control. I mean, there's just constant no student loan debt cancellation. I mean, we can go on and on and on about the failed promises on Biden's behalf, but instead of focusing on that, he's continuing saying that, yeah, we doing good work with the Biden administration. I'm glad that Biden is willing to work with the progressive. I mean, he's saying this stuff to let people, to give people the impression that these people are working with us, when anyone who I've been covering the policies from the very beginning of this administration and the blatant conflict of interest they were having with the ruling class, these people are now on our side, and them killing the minimum wage and them fighting against these progressive policies. This is just the beginning of the Biden administration, and we had this opportunity with the reconciliation process to actually fight for these important issues. They decided not to fight, so now you're not going to have a lot of leverage, and that's what they actually brought up in the article as well. Because Bernie, once again, he fighting for the right things. He did a little stunt speech here. Cause he says, in terms of social issues, fight for structural racism, immigration reform, fighting against the growing trend of authoritarianism. He was asked about what his main focus is on right now today, and he said,
historical correlation.
I'll turn it over to you right after I read this here. He said there was a huge number of issues out there. Some of them are existential and they have to be dealt with. And I intend to do everything I can as chairman of the budget committee to make sure we can move forward, that is good. But how are you going to continue to fight Biden as an adversary if you just continue to hold water for him? Because as this guy mentioned, he said when you look at the budget reconciliation process, a lot of those things that you brought up, you won't be able, there's not a chance where you can use the budget reconciliation process to get that through. And he asked Bernie about that, and Bernie kind of obfuscates a little bit here, and he said, I don't want to bore the American people about the rules and what we can use. And then the guy, he's like, nah, I want you to kind of explain how you can get Joe Biden to support these things. And here, Bernie Sanders don't really have an answer for that. He said we believe should get rid of the filibuster. But at the end of the day, as you say right here, I'm not going to lay out all our strategy and what we're working on right now. But I repeat, what the country is facing a huge problem. The American people want us to address those problems. We can now allow a minority to stop it from going forward. So when he was pressed on how he actually going to get Biden to address these things, he didn't really have an answer for that. He just said we got weapons, we got secret weapons that we always say we gonna use, but we never actually use when it actually matters. Because once again, he's just being very secretive here. But go ahead, RJ. I'll let you speak, and I can point out some more things in the article here. Go ahead, RJ.
Well, the crazy part is when did Bernie start giving us the Louis C.K.? Like that's what's pissing me off. Like he did the same shit during the primary. Every time he was asked about how you're gonna pay for it, he starts labeling off about how racist and institutional bad stuff this is, and yeah, that's true, but debunk it right away. See, Bernie is get
his ass. Get his ass.
That was a total Louis C.K. Oh my! I was like doing the whole Jimmy thing while you were reading that. Like, what the fuck? And so basically, Bernie right now, he's just like Hubert Humphrey. The only difference is that in the end, Hubert Humphrey won because there was a giant outswell of movement pushing Lyndon Johnson to get civil rights. So picture me this. Joe Manchin is just like Dick Russell. Dick Russell was a former senator from Georgia. He was one of the most highest-ranking senators in the entire country. He had all the power. He held all the Southern Dixiecrats in line. Hubert Humphrey, he was the most liberal senator in the time in the 60s. He was from Minnesota. All the liberals loved him, Republican and Democrat, and Lyndon Johnson became the president. I'm not going to say Biden is Lyndon Johnson, for instance. It's just a little comparison. That's the kind of battle we're in. And right now, Bernie is losing, and he's losing bad. So if you look at the reference I just made, Joe Biden right now is actually using Manchin for cover. He's the safety valve. Because in the end,
yes,
he
good
just
point.
say it's Manchin's fault, and Manchin doesn't give a fuck. He's used to being hated.
Exactly.
He enjoys being hated. That's who Dick Russell was back in the 60s. And Dick Russell, he's not losing his seat. He was in Georgia. He went uncontested every time he ran. Same thing with Joe Manchin. He wins overwhelmingly every time. That's what we're under. And the problem is Bernie, he can win easily too, just like that senator from Minnesota, Hubert Humphrey did. It's just, how are you going to fight for it and how are you going to actually stand up for it? That's the problem with Bernie Sanders, is that he doesn't put his foot down, especially when he's not at risk of losing his seat. The most powerful you could be in politics is when you know you could win your seat. If you, like Trump said, shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and you can't lose votes.
Yeah.
That's how powerful you are.
Yeah.
Amen. Anything you want to add, Meg? Because I want to point this part out right here as well. Because this is, once again, this is what I mean when I'm talking about quelling the anger. Because there's a lot of reasons to be upset that a 15 million wage that's supported by 75% of the American people, as Bernie Sanders points out here, didn't pass. But he was asked point blank. He said, if you're someone to the left who supported you and you see the $15 minimum wage get dropped, you see pay family leave get dropped, you see that all these things like the child tax credit is temporary, why should I be excited about that? He straight up asked, he's like, why should someone on the left be excited about this? And once again, instead of like, once again, Bernie Sanders' answer frustrates me to death, but I understand why he gives it. But instead of this answer that I'm about to read you, this is his chance to go at the throat of Kristen Sinema, Joe Manchin, Joe Biden, and the centrist wing of the party, because your goal in politics is to destroy their credibility. Because if you destroy their credibility, they won't have the kind of leverage in these fights in the long term, because politics is all about a game of public perception. It's a war that you gotta play. But instead of actually attacking the centrist Democrats in the way you should, once again, this is apologist shit. Like he said, I don't have to convince you. We already convinced 75% of the American people that this is a very good piece of legislation. I think the progressives out here understand that this is a fairly conservative Congress and conservative Congress. Like, once again, that's not a bad thing necessarily to say, but why are you not calling these people out by name? The people understand that we live in a fairly conservative Congress. Who, motherfucker, who? This is the part where you should be like, Kristen Sinema is a fraud who started out as a Green Party progressive who called out capitalism, and she betrayed the American people. Call her out by name. Like, what the fuck is this? Like, this is like, I understand this is like small. I guess you can say this small complaint, but this is mealy mouth shit right here. Because you're not calling anyone out by name, and then he continues. I was barely disappointed that we lost the minimum wage in the reconciliation process as a result of decision from a parliamentarian. This part is apologizing, and he literally using the talking points of the Biden administration. The parliamentarian, and I don't care for how people get upset with me for saying this. That is not the reason why we didn't have $15 minimum wage. That is not the reason. I say the reason is Joe Biden and Kamala Harris didn't override the Senate parliamentarian, because I'm not going to allow you to deflect the issue by blaming this fucking staffer who you guys can overrule anytime you want. But yet Bernie, instead of calling this out, he's not doing that. Go ahead, Meg. I'll let you chime in.
And not only that, it's like it was covered. Joe Biden did not once even lobby Joe Manchin to get him on the side of voting for it. He didn't lobby him once. So, I mean, what is this whole... I thought we were supposed to be pushing Joe Biden left. What happened to that? Like, all I see is all this cheerleading and shielding. It's like, Bernie, if you want to actually get something done, how about you be a Henry Wallace? How about you actually push to get something done? You want him to be FDR? Be a Henry Wallace. Like, stop being his little puppet. It's annoying. And it's just like you guys have been saying, it's annoying also because the other progressives follow his lead.
Yep.
Because what happened with force to vote? Like, AOC was like, hey, we can't do force to vote because we had to keep our powder dry to go for a $15 minimum wage. Did they fight for a $15 minimum wage? No, they didn't. They let that go. It's like, I thought you were keeping your powder dry for this fight, and yet you didn't fight. So what's the point of keeping your powder dry? Like, what are you doing? Like, you were not sent there to be complicit. You were sent there to fight back. And this is what's so annoying about some people who are just like, oh, you know what? Now do Republicans. Like, we already know the Republicans are evil.
Yeah, that's not new. They didn't promise anything.
Fighting the Democrats because they're standing in the way.
Yeah, they didn't promise anything. Why are you attacking them?
They were sent there to be a left Tea Party. They were sent there to be a left Tea Party, and they're not doing that job. Instead, they're being complicit.
And check this out. Go ahead, RJ. Go ahead.
Yeah, the problem with the squad is that they're moral. That's the problem. They're playing a moral game in an amoral system. And so their idea is,
you can't.
I know. I agree with you. So their problem is
it's like, not a moral system at all.
I said it's an amoral. I said they're playing an amoral game.
Oh, okay.
Inside an amoral system.
Okay, I misheard you then.
Yeah, so that's the thing. So, like, for the COVID bills, for instance, they don't want their fear is, oh, well, so the Democrats and Republicans, they can slash even more, so we might as well fall in line for it. It's actually the opposite. You have to do the opposite. You know, like the Southern
Exactly.
Democrats in the '60s, they're like, no way do we want black people to have rights. We will filibuster this bill. You know, and so
And-
it's almost like the progressives, they have to say, hey, we are not falling for this shit, and they actually have enough squad members, the core ones, you know, the ones who actually, you know, are powerful enough, they could stop it in the House and then force the Senate, and it gives Bernie even more leverage. That's the thing. It gives Bernie more leverage in the Senate because in the Senate it's 50-50. So then Bernie would combine with the progressives in the House and say, hey, we need to stop this. We need a $15 minimum wage in the bills. You know, like who's their strategist? Because they need to be fired.
Yeah, look, check this out because
Maybe they could just write a strongly worded letter.
yeah, look at Jackie in here. I see Jackie in the comments here. I'm gonna say, Jackie, get in here. Oh, there she is.
She's hiding.
I'm still gonna put it. We all right. So we finally got the squad. We finally got the main host. You see the title? I said this is starring Jackie.
Mm-hmm. I see
Featuring.
the title.
So this is our Tuesday show.
But you're Jackie. I was just. I
So
was a little concerned if there's false advertising going on. You're a little misleading.
I had to get clicks using your name. I hope you're not upset with me for doing that.
Hey,
But
Fred.
I was like, all right, I'm
You
gonna.
see that? You guys see that? He uses the black woman to be able to get she. That's not even right. Yeah, that's not even right.
He learned from
Using
Joe
me.
Biden. He learned from Joe Biden, so.
Oh,
Oh, you did
See?
not. You did not.
calling
did
you
not.
out right there. Yup. Hi J7. Hi Jammaries. Hi I Envy Me and all the people. Oh, is Forgivency in here? All the people who called
Yes.
me and had Nick canceled until he finally said, "Okay, Jackie, come on in."
I hope you guys understand that this show is only possible because of public pressure. That's I folded.
Bernie.
It wasn't for all the people that you named and Magnator spearheading this campaign against me. So unfortunately, I had to give up my show, and now we have Jackie, who's hosting the Tuesday show. Magnator's here; she's a co-host, and I'm the glorified correspondent who just find the stories and feed them information. That's our job here, and I'm glad that we got the crew here. A-Box for giving in the chat. JC, I envy me. So the deeply serious political show. This is officially the debut of it now. Feature. I guess RJ's part is another glorified correspondent today. That's our role. Just to add information. But Jackie and Meg is gonna carry the show today. Anyway, this is what I want to bring up.
Turn it over.
Okay, Ground Game LA is all about the deeply serious political show. Appreciate the follow. Once again, this is why I wanted to use Jackie and Megan their name. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna use their cloud here. But this is the part we were talking about Bernie Sanders, and I know Jackie may have some feelings about the subject, but once again, I wanted to give Bernie Sanders a fair hearing. I think I'm doing that. Maybe I should get to some positives about this interview to kind of even it out. But we were just talking about them not wanting to fight, and he calls out the problem. He said we have a very conservative Congress. As I point out right here, he said, I think progressives out here understand that given a fairly conservative Congress, well, Democrats control the Senate and the Congress. So who are you talking about? You're talking about the conservative Democrats, as I said, that you should be calling out. So this is your opportunity to go on the attack on them. Keep your foot on the gas and keep your foot on their neck. But instead, check this out. This will piss me off. This is the pivot. So I was disappointed that we lost the minimum wage. But look, this is the pivot right here. In the next paragraph. Because this is where he acknowledged they lost the minimum wage. And pretty much all the real structural changes that you can make in society they didn't put in this bill are just all temporary. But in this legislation, let us be clear, we got a family of four, a working class, family that's struggling to put food on the table with their kids, a check of $5,600. So you see that pivot here? Well, again, that's good that he got that relief. That just shows that we should be doing this more often. Not that we should be praising this one-time temporary solution they're not going to pass. They're not even going to try and make this monthly. So why are you doing defense for that? Once again, I'm not saying that he's wrong on the substance of this part, but once again, they're not going. This one-time check of people who are behind on their mortgages, behind on the rent, Who, once again, this is what the capitalists do, and this is what you shouldn't be apologizing for, Bernie. Because just because someone who has a roof over their head and actually not starving to death, don't mean they're not in poverty. And how, instead of, once again, this is what I'm upset about, instead of keeping the criticism on point of the Democratic Party and the conservative Democrats that you just called out, you just called him out, up here, you pivot, and then from here on out, he talked about how good the legislation is. Instead of what we just talked about just now, and this is what pisses me off, because once again he said we extended unemployment to September with the $300 supplement. He cut unemployment, motherfucker. Like that number was $400. So what the fuck? You can say this part, but if you do not include the fact that Joe Biden and this bill cut that number, you're gaslighting people. Once again, you can say the first part, but go ahead, Jackie.
Really quick. He's not. When he said we extended unemployment to September, he did, because unemployment actually ended on March 13th.
Yeah,
unemployment. Not you're adding two different parts. Okay, so unemployment by itself ended March 13th. As $300 is the supplement. Okay, yeah, the supplement was originally $600, then it got cut to $400. Now it's cut to $300.
I hear you.
But
I hear
unemployment itself ended on March 13th because it was only good for 1 year. That's what he means. Because had they not signed that, I would have run out of unemployment.
Yeah, I hear you. But then they cut the overall benefits. That's why I was saying that you should be calling out, right?
Well, okay, so I look at this slightly different because I've been living off of unemployment for the last year.
That's fair.
They did not supplement. So that supplement of $600 was a godsend, right? That was awesome because for me personally, unemployment is less than $300 a week. I live in Southern California. That's not enough. $600 a week, that was fine. Like I could live on the $600 a week. I cannot live on $300 a week. Okay, so
but it's still, so I know so I think I know what you're saying, right?
Hey, right. So
so it's good that they added on, but they cut overall benefits, right? Just make sure I got that right.
No, they didn't cut anything.
Okay.
They didn't cut anything. What was cut was the supplement. Unemployment itself stays the same.
Okay.
Unemployment has not changed. Okay, but it's not enough to live on because for some reason in California, unemployment is only 60% of whatever you claim. Being a server, not claiming that much, my unemployment is shit, right? So, like I said, I can't live on less than $300 a week. But the supplement is what I could live on. Now, the supplement is what they cut, but you can't really say that they cut it because you can't expect a supplement. You see what I mean? Like the unemployment itself stayed the same, but it ran out March 13th.
I see.
That's why they had to sign this by that day. So that's not being politicking there. He actually did extend unemployment because if they hadn't done anything, I would get $0. The unemployment would just be done. Like that's it. You've extended, your year is up. We're not giving you any more money. You have no more in the coffers.
I see. So,
but the supplement is what you're talking about.
Yeah, that
got brought down to $300. But that's in addition to unemployment. That's an add-on. They're two separate things.
I was expecting them to keep that amount of money in there, right? Am I wrong on that?
It would be lovely if they did.
That's kind of what I was expecting.
They're not going to do that.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was expecting. Yeah.
The only way we got it in the first place is because Bernie basically went in there and shamed every single Republican, and they were like, "Okay, fine, fuck it, let them have $600 for a couple months." That's how we got it in the first time, and then he didn't really fight for the $600 he proposed, and he fought for it. That's how we got it the first time. But then when the negotiations came around, it was actually the Democrats who screwed us on that. Because Republicans were like, well, we're not going to give you $600. And the Democrats were like, okay, about $300 or $400. And Republicans were like, how about nothing? And the Democrats were like, $300? And the Republicans were like, fine. But then that was September, right? But then October comes around and it looks like Trump's going to lose. So then the Republicans are like, okay, look, we'll give you $400, we'll give you $2,000, let's do this, right? And the Republicans were going to do I think they were going to do $1,200 for the stimulus, and then $400 a week for the unemployment supplement. And Democrats held off and said no, and waited till after the election, which was like a whole month later. And by the time they came back, they were like, 600 is enough. 300 is enough.
Yeah, it was basically
so you can't say Republicans said no, because right before the election was when they had when Democrats had all the leverage and they did absolutely nothing with it.
Exactly.
It was actually Nancy Pelosi. She said, it ain't gonna happen. So she was basically shilling to try to protect Biden in the election. And then right after it was passed, and it was significantly less, she said, the payments, the checks are significant. So she actually did this twice. Like initially, with the first COVID package, she killed, and the one before Trump lost, she killed. So she killed 2 bills.
Yes, and both bills, by the way, where Republicans had given more than we ended up giving. And they say no, like the Democrats say no, and then turn around and blame the Republicans when initially the Republicans had given more. Then the Democrats said no, and then when they agreed to something, it was significantly less than the original bills.
Exactly, and that was when like Ro Khanna and Andrew Yang were both saying, "Hey, take the deal," and she was like, "No, because I'm not going to let Trump have a win, not right before the election."
Yes. So fuck all the people who got evicted because of that, because of her holding off or political maneuver. And Trump even called her out on it. I think he should have been louder on that, because he only did it in like one press conference. But had he called her out on that, I think that would have like possibly swung the election, because that's exactly what she was doing. He was like, she's not giving you money in the hopes that I lose. And that's exactly what she did. That's what she was doing. And then when she came back to the table, the Republicans were like, well, we've lost, so we have no incentive to give you anything now. So they negotiated all the way down to like half of what it was. And that's her. And then she was like, yeah, this is a win. I'm fine with this. And then she went on
telling them to do that
MSNBC and was like, I give you, or no, CNN, and was like, Democrats are the ones who give you money. We feed you.
Yeah, I remember that.
In the words of Lissa Milano, Democrats help people.
No, they don't.
So
they do, though. Democrats do help people. They help themselves.
they help their friends keep their careers. That's what the Democratic Party is about.
They help the rich get richer.
Nurk 87 said, I think Sanders is just trying to celebrate the few wins they got. And I get your politicians, you gotta do that, but once again, I think this is the point right now where we should be applying maximum pressure on Biden and the Democratic Party to be demanding more instead of just taking the crumbs. That was my overall general point. So that's why I would like to see more of Bernie in the squad, Bernie Sanders in the squad.
I guess maybe didn't you hear they cut childhood poverty in half? Haha.
Which is total horseshit. Total horseshit. You know the math that they use to say that they cut childhood poverty in half? Mm-hmm. It's like 4 + 2 = purple. That's the math that they used, and they were like, see? And nobody sees. Nobody saw.
No.
Like, if you really want to cut poverty in half, don't means test it. Oh, but rich people, okay, we already know rich people don't need it. So, usually whenever there's anything that Democrats are like, oh, we need to means test it or else the rich people will get it, looking at you people to judge. That's almost always a situation where rich people would never even think about it. When it comes to college, do you really think a rich person is trying to get their kid into a community college? They're not even trying to get them into a basic-ass university. Yeah. They're paying people to put them in the Ivy League schools. They don't give a shit about your little bitty college. They want to go to like they're creme de la creme. Rich people are only paying for creme de la creme. They don't give a shit about normal people shit. Let the normal people have their shit. By the way, like this is something that I keep seeing. People are like, $100,000 a year. Oh my god. Okay, first of all, like more than half of Americans are in so much credit card debt that you can make. If they make $100,000 a year, they're probably only living on like $20,000 because they're leveraged to the hilt with things like their mortgage, their student loans, medical debt, all kinds of shit, like credit card debt, So they're probably living on less than you think. Secondly, depending on where you live, $100,000 is not that much. Especially if you're talking about a couple or a family, that's not a ton of money. This isn't 1996 anymore. Things are expensive. So yeah, maybe in Utah you can have some, $100,000 will get you a long way. Los Angeles, not so much.
No.
Yeah, that's why I don't understand why anyone who would consider themselves socialist or left of that would ever repeat the pro-Biden propaganda in terms of reducing poverty on these bills, because what capitalists see as poverty and what I see as poverty and what any sane person would see as poverty, it's a complete joke. And I was just thinking about my living conditions. I was looking at what a single mother or two who had to do on their poverty rate, and I'm like, bro, there's no way. Like, that amount of money, I made that amount of money before, and I'm just a single guy, and that was I thought I never had any money. You know what I mean? So that kind of stuff is a joke, and I just don't like seeing progressive politicians pivot towards that. Man, let's see. Is there any other thoughts about the Bernie Sanders New York Times interview, or any other thoughts about the direction of Bernie before I shift to the next subject here? I do want to get shout out my boy DJ Elf in the YouTube chat as well. He got a pretty decent show. I was on the show before. Might have to bring him back on here.
Wow, what else I missed? Ringing endorsement. You have a pretty decent show. Like, that's not shit, but, it's alright.
I thought I was doing the right thing there.
Remind me to never have you write the foreword of my book. Okay? Like, you know what? I read the book. It's okay.
It was pretty good. Pretty good show.
You know what? It's legible.
Thank you for the follow. Not Your Babe 666. Shout out to I Envy Me. Big fan.
Man, that would be something great to put on the back cover of a book. It's legible.
I seen her movie podcast before. She does a pretty good job. Playing movies. Pretty good at breaking the movie stuff down. That's.
Oh, you've been on my podcast before. Okay, so my thing on the whole Bernie situation is, honestly, the man's almost 80 years old. We shouldn't be putting all of our hope and faith in one octogenarian. We need more than that. We tried with the Squad. Squad has become fully assimilated into the Democratic Party in the 2 years they've been there. So Justice Democrats to me was an experiment. We tried, it didn't work.
Yep.
We saw that. We thought that if we don't have them take money from the establishment, they will continue to fight for us. And we saw that it doesn't matter if they become a part of the establishment. They become part of the establishment. So to me, there's no inside game. I said it before, but I'm not disappointed in the politicians because I've moved past that. We don't have any inside help, really. They're not going to change. They're not, nothing is going to happen on the electoral level until we get on the streets and force them to. I've said it before. You want Pelosi to put a Green New Deal? Oh, by the way, anybody says $15 minimum wage to me again, I may slap them. $15 doesn't do shit, okay? It needs to be 25. At least 25. Thank
25
you.
To survive.
Thank you. 15, what the fuck are you going to do? Oh, maybe in 20 years you'll get $15. Yeah, by then it should probably be 70 going at the rate of inflation, but whatever. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and even going off of that, the fact that the $15 minimum wage that they're even suggesting wouldn't go into effect until 2026. By that time, it would have to be 30 with that phase in. It's what's the point of passing that? Okay, then if that's what you want, go ahead and fight for 25. Maybe we can negotiate to 15. But it's not even a livable wage anymore. Yeah. That was the livable wage 5 years ago when Fight for 15 started.
It started before then. The $15 minimum wage argument started, you're going to love this, back when Obama was still in office.
Makes sense.
That's how long ago we were asking for $15. That's why now it should be 25. It really should be. We're not pulling this number out of our ass. So if you're going to wait that long to give it to us, or if we're going to have to negotiate, there should be asking for 35, so that by the time we get 30, it'll actually be 30. It's supposed to keep up with inflation. It should technically be 24. Oh, fuck you. Give me that extra dollar. $2.
Yeah, I think that the statistic is if it had kept up with inflation and productivity, it'd be like 22, I think.
From what I read, it's 24.
Is it?
Yeah.
We have to look it up again.
So that's why I'm saying, like, it's just an extra dollar. And who's gonna fight for 24? Like, yeah, it's catchy, but 25, you can do it.
25.
Yeah.
25 to survive. That's the new slogan.
If one more person defends a billionaire, I swear to God, look, fuck the billionaires, okay? I'm gonna say that plainly so everybody understands. Fuck the billionaires.
Tax them out of existence.
Exactly. Thank you. Our infrastructure gets a D. We can fix that instantly by going, all you motherfuckers that have $1 billion, well, you don't anymore. Like, these people don't have $1 billion. I don't think a lot of people realize that. Most billionaires have multiple billions.
Yeah, it's so crazy.
It's only the broke billionaires like Oprah that are down to like 2 or 3 billion or some shit. Like Elon Musk, and like the a-holes like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos who keep going back and forth for richest man in the world. Mm-hmm. They're fast tracking to trillionaire, helped out a lot by the COVID bills, by the way.
Exactly.
The Walton family, all these guys, you don't need $1 billion. You literally can't. Even with the how expensive everything is now, you still can't spend $1 billion. So we're gonna take everything. We'll let you get right up to $1 billion. We'll let you get up to like 9999999 right there. And then once you hit that extra dollar, we're just gonna take everything.
Yeah, tax at 100.
All of the money from that, and we're just gonna turn around and give that to the people. And hey, that'll give you $30 an hour. Let's defund the Pentagon. That'll pay for healthcare and college. And then let's, I don't know, give a shit about the planet we live on, so that we can continue to do that.
And that's one of my favorite things that somebody has kept saying recently. It's like, okay, we're going to tax you at $999 million or whatever, and then we'll take all that away, and then we'll give you certificates that says, congratulations, you won capitalism.
Exactly.
That's one of my favorite jokes.
We're going to use that. You get the certificate, and we're going to take your money and use it to build the infrastructure and to pay the people on whose backs you got that money.
Exactly.
It's the same strategy that was really done in the 1940s, I believe. I mean, there was the top tax rate for anyone who made $2 million
70%,
or more. Actually, it was higher. It's 96.7%.
Oh yeah, that's right.
During World War II, and now it's around what I think Biden wants to push it from 33% to 39 or 38.
Yeah,
which is so.
He wants to put it back where it was.
And so also too, look at the corporate tax rate. I think the corporate tax rate, what was it? 20? Was it 38? I'm not really sure what these numbers are, but Trump brought it down 8 points, and Biden put it up back 4. Conservatively, make it fair. But in reality, if you play this game, Republicans and rich people will have a net tax decrease of 4% every time they switch back and forth.
Mm-hmm. And even if we're talking about just income, we can't tax just income, because even if you look at Jeff Bezos, he doesn't get paid in money; he gets paid in stock. So we have to be taxing stock and capital gains as income at that same level, and also do the wealth tax.
Oh, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Yes.
So
I'm for all your personal wealth. We're just, again, you hit $1 billion. Congratulations, you won capitalism. You can go to some special like rich people only club or some shit and live on an island somewhere. Everybody else is going to take that money though, and we're going to live our lives.
That would drive me crazy about the billionaire class, because if you look at the proposals of Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, they are very moderate. Like, they're very capitalist solutions, because they still keep them as billionaires. I mean, yeah, they lose a significant amount of wealth per year, but I mean, when you compare what they're talking about and what we're talking about right here, I mean, I truly believe that billionaires should not exist. I mean, every single billionaire is just a failure and indictment of our system. I mean, check this headline out. I mean, I cover these headlines all the time, but this kind of covers what we're talking about right now. After a year of lockdowns, billionaires are $1.3 trillion richer. I mean, this just came out midnight, but this is just one of many. I mean, I seen some studies that had that number higher actually, but this is the kind of wealth gain we see from the billionaire class. I mean, we're talking about trillions of dollars being made by these people, while small businesses, mostly businesses ran by people of color, are being closed down en masse. Well, yeah. There we are. All right, I'm back. So I still have the story on the screen, but when I see stories like these, I don't know how anyone can justify even having billionaires even exist. I mean, the amount of wealth that they're siphoning. I mean, they're pretending that this the relief package is amazing, but there are studies that show if you just take the money that billionaires have made, you could give every American $3,000 a month. So this is why I don't think we're being unreasonable when you see that despite the fact our economy, average person is struggling, but they are making records amount of profits despite all of this.
I will say this. Oh, Zoom's saying me out. Interesting. I will say this. Billionaires, I think, yeah, sure, you can let billionaires exist as long as there is not one single person that is homeless or starving.
Yeah,
as long as every single person on the planet it has shelter, has food, and has a livable lifestyle. They're not desperate. They're not clean. Yeah, as long as healthcare, everybody has healthcare, everybody is fed, everybody has shelter. There's not one single person on the planet homeless by whatever standards you have. Because I know some places, people do like to sleep outside. Okay, that's fine. But as long as you have shelter when you need it, as long as there's not one person who goes to bed hungry, then sure, you could have. If you can figure out how to do that in a fair system, have a billionaire, whatever. But I have a feeling that if you have any billionaires under that circumstance, you're going to have just a ton of millionaires because money will have gone up, So the thousandaires would now be millionaires and then the millionaires would be billionaires. It would be that kind of situation because that's the only way it's acceptable. Eradicate poverty and then you can have extreme wealth.
Yeah, that's an acceptable position because I said it before, and that what Honey Butcher's a ghost and on Twitch is alluding to. I challenge a capitalist to point out a time where capitalism have been successful without slavery, right? And the billionaire class, they only are billionaires because of slavery. I mean, those profit margins only exist because of that. Whether you're talking about wage slavery or straight the child slavery we see in Africa and in a lot of Asian countries as well. I mean, this is why there's no ethical consumption under capitalism. Even when you look at countries that treat their civilians a little bit better. I mean, they are exploiting someone from somewhere else. That's the overall criticism of capitalism, and that's why it's just not a morally just or sustainable system. Because if you look at the study that I just laid out now, when you look at the vast amount of income inequality, this is not sustainable. It's historically never been sustainable. I mean, there have been studies that show that we are seeing income inequalities as high as when we had serfs. So it's we are seeing a historic level income inequality, and that's why we are seeing massive civil unrest. I mean, the liberal class don't like when we do stuff like where we tie all the issues together. But I honestly do believe when I see increase of mass shootings, the reason we even have this migration crisis at the border, these are indicators of the failures of our system, the failures of capitalism. And they just want to pretend that these kind of things are happening for no reason. Whenever the crime rate goes up, the crime rate's going up. What's going on here? There's a lot of these mass shootings. What's going on here? I'm like, for me, my point of view, I clearly see this as a symptom of a toxic and failing society. And speaking on that, because I also want to give you guys opinions on this as well, because this is a story that been blowing up for a while, and I'm making a point. I'm using the same arguments, and I'm being the same level of consistent than I was on Donald Trump, because I said on my show one of the criticisms I had of Blue MAGA and Resist was I think that Trump should be impeached. but you guys are not impeaching him for the right things. And then you look at how Joe Biden is running his administration, the massive conflicts of interest, massive amount of corruption, inhumane immigration policies that is going on with them. It's very clear that we see why they didn't want to impeach Donald Trump, because of the crisis going on at the border. I mean, look at this. You guys understand that under Donald Trump, they allowed journalists in. That's how we got the pictures. Now we have the Biden administration. I mean, this come from CNN last night. The Biden administration continued to deny journalists access to birth facilities. So what they're doing, and if you look at Blue Twitter, you look at Resist Twitter, they're not covering this, and they're not covering this accurately, because they're saying, the cultists, what they do, they just pretty much repeat the talking points coming out of the Biden administration. And that's what they're doing with the story. Because if you ask the White House press secretary, Jen Psaki, she said since Monday, she's been saying this for a long time, that we remain committed to transparency. When Joe Biden ran, he ran on being very transparent about what's happening on the border crisis. I'm gonna pull that up here very soon. But as CNN points out here, as when you had the Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas led a bipartisan delegation, reporters would not allow to accompany them. The Department of Homeland Security said the trip was closed to journalists because of privacy. What do you mean privacy? Like, this is the point. Like, this is at the point where how is bringing up, like, am I missing something? How is them bringing up privacy a good excuse? Like, they're like, well, they were closed to journalists because, I mean, we just have we want to keep the shit a secret. They literally just said it. Am I wrong on that? Because I see that, I'm like, what? And COVID-19 precautions. So this is a big tell here, because once again, if you want to believe this, you just indicted yourself, because we've seen the pictures of the migrant facilities. So you admit that the COVID-19 is so desperate that we can't have reporters there, but we have people literally stacked on top of each other. I'm going to show the pictures here very soon. So once again, they're indicting themselves, and that doesn't make any sense. And even then, we still had the media pressing the Biden administration on having access to journalists, and they still are not providing that. And as they point out here in the article, they say even in the Trump administration, journalists were allowed to come to these facilities. So we joked about this on our show, where we said their response to the border crisis and the inhumane immigration policies was literally will be not to cover it. Like, that's what they're doing now, and Joe Biden want to hide that. They want to add on before I continue?
I mean, surprise, Biden's a liar. But okay, I gotta go. But see you guys.
Hi, RJ.
All right, thanks for joining, RJ. We pretty much be wrapping up here soon. I just at least want to cover this story here. But yeah, they point out. I mean, once again, let's see what they say right here. I'm trying to point I'm looking for. In addition to restricting media access, the Biden administration has not provided their own photos of the facilities. So this is why this story is kind of blowing up now, because we are starting to see a lot of these photos. Let me see if I can find the photos from my feed here. But it's the same shit that we see on the Trump. The same exact stuff here. Here's the story here.
Can somebody explain something to me while you're looking for that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Why did people expect that the guy who was in the administration that started putting the kids in camps would be the one to take them out?
Your guess is as good as mine.
All I have at this point is "I told you so," because we are so politically beat down, and the leftists continue to take L's. I happily admit that I'm in "I told you so" mode, because I want people to readjust in the future and acknowledge what I'm saying. I wasn't saying this stuff we said this on our show. If anyone want to look at the Black Rose Brigade footage from last fall. I mean, me and Jackie were literally on photo saying, yo, we don't have any confidence that Biden's going to make this situation better. So at this point, I'm just driving the knife and twisting it a little bit for the people who was wrong, who thought they was actually going to vote for change. Because here's the photos, because this is come from a response. These are just some examples of some of the photos we're seeing out of migrant detention centers. And once again, their reason why they was restricting access to journalists was because COVID precautions. But apparently COVID precautions it's not so dire that you will prevent something like this from happening. And I see liberals all the time like, well, what should they do? What should they do instead? They think that because they only think as a capitalist. But we have so much resources that you guys want to spend in the billionaire class that we can afford to have accountable area of housing for these people where they can be safe. Our government is choosing not to.
I don't know. Maybe here. How about we stop collecting people in the first damn place?
Yeah. Once again, I even proposed the moderate solution. So yeah, you can. There's multiple things that you can do in this scenario. So there's the liberal. What they do to apologize for the situation that they conveniently wasn't apologizing when this happened under Trump, but they were like, oh, there's nothing he can do. So once again, I just want people to understand that that's bullshit. That's why I want people to understand. Like even if you look at moderate.
I'll be a little sarcastic here, but Nick, they have TVs in the cages, so clearly they're okay.
And just know,
politics said Biden has empathy. This is where I would insert that clip of Biden yelling at the teenagers, like, "I have no empathy for you, man."
And people wanted me to vote for that.
He literally said, "I have no empathy." Yeah, he's a piece of shit.
Yeah, he's who was it that said that he's the empathetic president? Who was it that said that? I don't even remember.
I don't know.
Someone called him the empathetic president.
Now
I was like, oh my god.
So how are you gonna restore? Well, pretty much, I guess he is restoring the soul of the nation because this is what America is, right? Like, so I guess he wasn't lying on his slogan because I want to restore the soul of America. He wasn't lying. He wanted to restore the Reagan era. Jim Crow Joe is back, and the U.S. is back in the game again.
Normal. Let's just go back to normal. Yeah, this is normal. Yeah.
And the only thing we can do is just expose these people as liars because what we said on our show was these people would say anything to get elected. So it never made any sense to me why people apologize for them. Because once again, this is the promise that he was using to get himself elected. I mean, this is what he said on August 20th. Biden campaign pledged a transparent, open relationship with the press as Biden prepared for convention speech. So much for that, right? Not only is he not having a transparent relationship in this instance, I mean, they are being forced to screen questions. He's not holding press conferences, not doing any media appearances. He's just sending out his professional liar, just like Trump sent out his professional liar. I mean, Trump has.
How is he's less transparent than
yeah,
Trump.
exactly.
Trump loves media attention. You put out a mic, he's going to stand in front of it. Biden in the primaries wasn't transparent. The only way he would be asked a genuine question is if it was a town hall or if he was doing one of his tours where he was walking through a facility and somebody actually had the balls, like a regular person, not a reporter, but a regular person had the balls to ask him one. And what did he do? He went off on that person. Yeah. He would call him a lying dog-faced pony soldier. He would yell at them and say, like, why are you asking me so many questions? Or he would be like, well, then vote for Trump. He's an asshole. He always was. This shit, you know what's transparent? What's transparent is that he lies. That's what's transparent.
This is why we said Biden just like Trump. This is exactly why we were saying that. Preach. Because when you see how Joe Biden actually responds to grassroots activists who challenge him, it's very revealing of his character. You see this a lot of time with the members of the Democratic Party ruling class. We see when Nancy Pelosi is confronted by protesters. We see when Dianne Feinstein is confronting protesters. Hell, look, we even see when Obama Hillary Clinton. Oh my God, infamously bad with being confronted. I mean, horrific person. And even Barack Obama, like a lot of people, I looked at a lot of those clips when he would deal with protesters. He was incredibly smug and condescending to people who, like, there was a lot of immigration activists who would protest Obama during the day, and he was like literally. I saw one. I wish I could find a clip. Maybe I'll find it and I'll do a segment on this show later. But it was like laughing at him, like using them as a joke, like, "Oh, sit down, you kids."
So I say even Barack Obama, because Barack Obama was the worst.
You're not gonna get me to disagree with that.
Of all of the people that you just mentioned, he's the one who made it so that Julian Assange and Chelsea Manning,
great point,
and Edward Snowden all had to either leave the country or end up in jail.
Yep.
Because they were telling truths during his administration, and he called them terrorists so that he could lock them up without a trial.
Yep.
He's the worst.
He waged a legendary war against journalism.
He's way smoother than Obama is the anti-Trump. Trump is just like, what? Because he just says it, and people are like, shut the fuck up, you're not supposed to say that out loud. And he's like, what? It's true. And people are like, okay, we got to get rid of him because people are starting to see behind the curtain, and we can't let that happen. Whereas Obama was like, there's nothing but curtains. What are you talking about? There's nothing going on behind that curtain. You don't need to look back there. There's no curtain. What's wrong with you? Like, Obama was the ultimate gaslighter.
Yeah.
You're like, there's something behind the curtain. And he's like, there's no curtain. And then he smiles. And then he's like, he has a smooth talk. And everybody just goes, oh, I thought there was a curtain. Yeah, I thought there was a curtain too. I guess there's not. People just convince themselves there's no fucking curtain. And while everything's happening behind the curtain. And he's like, I'm fucking curtain. For example, like the kids in cages started during Obama. But and that the pictures, the press took those pictures during the Obama years, but they didn't bother to publish it until Trump was in office.
Yep, exactly, and that would make the people so terrifying because they have the same temperament, they govern like Trump, but they have complete media complicity as well. And going back to Biden's temperament, I love that I even found this clip. I want to show this. I've seen it before, but it's always worth a watch because this is where the military vet called out Joe Biden, and God forbid you will ever see anything in establishment media showing this. I mean, I don't know. I highly doubt court media really covered this that much, but this is the kind of pressure that someone like Joe Biden should be facing all the time. So when people ask me why I think I had this level of disdain toward Joe Biden the same way I had the level of disdain toward Donald Trump, I mean, this kind of stuff is the reason why. So let's check out this quick video to show the kind of pressure that Joe Biden should always be facing. This is how he handled people that actually challenge him. Make sure the audio and everything good. Sounds good. We covered the Iraq War last stream, talking about how horrible it was. Look, you see how I immediately get hostile? Because, like, for one, that's not even a good excuse. I'm sorry, I shouldn't be stopping this. I always do this because I always rage when I see these videos. But he brought up how his friends was dead because of the policies that Joe Biden was bringing up. You see Joe Biden immediately get hostile to him. He says, "So is my son." What? Like, how is that defense to what he just said there? Anyway, let's finish this version of the clip. Let's see here.
I'm always disgusted how he uses his son in that way.
Yeah, he uses dead son to attack Medicare for all. Go ahead, man.
Like your son didn't even die in the war. He died of cancer.
Yeah, it's like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck? Let's see if we can finish the rest of this. I doubt it. Like this kind of stuff hard to get through. Props to this guy. Where's the lie, though?
He enabled that to happen. He is disqualified. No way he can be president. They are dead. Millions are dead in Iraq.
Millions. 2.4 million. Probably more than that now.
Fucking bullshit. Fucking imperialist. We actually fought in your damn wars. We fought in your wars. You sent us to hurt civilians.
Hurt civilians.
Absolutely right, though. Their blood is on his hands.
I saw a video today.
He pushed for that war. He could have done what Bernie did and said, "Hey, let's not go to war unless we absolutely have to." But no, he was like, "Hey, we have to go. We have to go. We have to go." There's so much footage of him throughout the 2000s saying we have to go and we have to stay. Anytime we try to pull out, he's like, "No, we have to stay. We have to stay."
And
but yeah, there is blood on his hands.
And once again, if you're a Biden supporter and you watch that and you're thinking, "Oh man, that guy is being rude," because he called out the fact that Biden is responsible for millions of deaths. Like, this is the problem with neoliberalism and liberalism as a whole is when you have this silent acceptance of evil doing, like what Joe Biden has done, in order to have this false sense of peace. Because as he brings up, like those people they were forced to kill civilians, and I'm glad that we brought Julian Assange because it's this kind of stuff that Julian Assange exposed. I'm happy that I saw this video retweeted by Isabel here because this is why they hated Julian Assange. Since we're on the topic, I thought about this guy. I saw the guy bring up the fact that you guys forced us to kill civilians. I want you guys to understand how evil the U.S. war machine is. So as we wrapping up here, we can watch a few videos. And this is one I want to see because I saw this last night. I don't know if I've seen this one before, to be honest, but I saw it again last night and it hit me again hard because you realize how evil a war machine is. So this is not too long of a video, 1 minute and 30 seconds, but it is really hard to watch because you see how depraved that the people that have been sent to war has done. And to give props to that guy, he could not sleep well at night. But we send these people who sign up and our military industrial complex, where you want to blame on them or our system on down to do both. But they turn these people into psychopaths. Because this is the stuff that Julian Assange exposed. Check this out. How did this not radicalize everyone on U.S. imperialism? And they understand they could. That's why they had to make an example of this motherfucker. So check this out. I saw this last night. I thought it was crazy.
Crazy Horse 1A, request permission to engage. Picking up the wounded.
Hopefully it's not too loud.
Yeah, we're trying to get permission to engage.
No, it's not for me because I can never hear this for some reason.
No. Yeah, we can't see whatever's on your screen whenever we're on here. We just have to look at Twitch.
Oh, that's weird.
I'm watching it on Twitch. I can't hear or see anything.
All right. That's unfortunate, but hopefully anyone else can pick on it. I can't describe. I need to figure out how to fix that.
Come on.
See, like, children.
Clear.
This is what Julian Assange's players.
Let's shoot. Thank you. We're moving in the vicinity of the engagement area. It looks like we got some slight movement from the van that was engaged. Looks like a kid.
Looks like a kid.
Nice.
Nice.
2-6,
Bushmaster 7, Roger. We're about 100 meters behind you.
It get worse, by the way.
Roger, we need a to evac this child. She's got a wound to the belly. I can't do anything here. She needs to get evac over.
They're talking about children that have been wounded because of their assault.
Roger, I've got.
Now this is disturbing. Listen to this.
Iraqi KIAs. One small child wounded over.
Damn. Oh well. Oh, it's their fault for bringing their kids to a battle. That's right.
Pause. Do you guys hear what he just said? Well, it's their fault for bringing their kids into a battle. That's his response to the U.S. military killing an innocent child. For one, let's point out how absolutely evil this is, because this is not a battle that they brought their kids to. This is an invasion by the United States military. They didn't bring their kids to the battle. You brought the battle to them. So this is unhinged for a billion different ways. like I can't even get started. For one, the fact that they're killing fucking kids, and then look at their attitude. Not even just with this sentence. We have 15 seconds left. I'll let finish here. But look at what he said in response to that. The callousness of this. Well, it's their fault for bringing kids to a battle. You motherfuckers invaded. This is why they want Julian Assange dead. Because this is what he's supposed. I wanted just a few more seconds. We finished, and I want to get you guys' take. See what everyone say in the comments. Cause I can't see the comments.
Damn. Oh well. Oh, it's their fault for bringing their kids to a battle. That's right.
That's right. His partner agrees with them. This is the culture.
6 off, 6 Romeo. Can you tell battalion that 2 civilian children casualties are coming back to West Maya and the Bradley over? Yeah.
Let's see. Just watching that again. Comment.
Realism in a nutshell.
Just seeing that again. Comment my blood boil. And I was I've seen it already. And Rocky Flame said this thing. Whenever I do that, whenever I bitch, I can never see the comments. So I'll just kind of pray that it's going okay for you guys. But yeah, just like Rocky Flame said, this is sick and evil. The U.S. is despicable. So everyone, if you guys understand where my stance is when I get upset when people criticize other countries and they continue to push the idea of U.S. exceptionalism, this is why. Because what's more evil than this? Don't worry, I'll wait. This is under Joe Biden, by the way. What Joe Biden's responsible for? Well, so when I said it when I was on to Ryan Knight, the proud socialist, and I said it on my show multiple times. When people were saying that, oh, you don't want to vote for Joe Biden over Donald Trump, you must prefer fascism over neoliberalism. And I'm saying this is not a shining endorsement of fascism at all. But if you just bring up fascism whenever someone is indicting neoliberalism, you're not actually fighting fascism. What you're doing is you're whitewashing the crimes of neoliberalism. Because this was done...
How is neoliberalism not fascism? I'm sorry, which was the party that made it so that the closest competition couldn't even be on the ballot? That's literally in the definition of fascism.
Amen. Once again, I always bring that argument back to him. That's why that's a very smart thing to bring up. Because I usually tell people, I can argue this on multiple angles. Because I can tell you, like, if you think Trump is a fascist, you must think Biden and Obama is a fascist because they waged a legendary war against journalism, among many other things. So you can argue on that. You can argue on that front, which is a good strategy. Or you can just bring up the crimes of neoliberalism. I'm like, okay, even if you don't think Biden's a fascist, just look at the crimes. Oh, what we just played there. Millions dead in Iraq. Destroy the black community through financial and through criminal justice policies like the crime bill and the bankruptcy bill. Him being a shield of the credit card companies. Him supporting every single U.S. intervention his entire career. He supported every single act of destabilizing self-American governments. I mean, he funds terrorists. He's funding and aiding a genocide in Yemen right now. So if you just want to, once again, I don't even have to argue that by the fascists. I can say if you think just blindly bring up term fascism is going to whitewash the crimes that I just brought up, you're delusional. You're actually not fighting fascism. You're just apologizing for another evil ideology. So that's where I stand. So I think it's ridiculous. So what are your thoughts on that, Jackie?
Oh wait, I'll let May go first. Go ahead.
I want to pick up on that because that is actually related to something I was thinking earlier. And so we were talking about how the hell Biden won, considering everything. And I've been hearing this a lot lately about this new book that just came out, Lucky. And like everything that keeps on coming out from that book that I've been hearing, it's like they had no faith in Biden, none whatsoever. Like they were like, oh, this is like the last guy on our list that we want to be president because he's a buffoon. Like there's no, like we can't have this guy be president. Like they were basically, the entire thing was anybody but Bernie. Anybody but Bernie.
Yep.
And so when it finally came down to it, like even Jim Clyburn didn't know if he was going to endorse until it was like down to the wire. And it's like, well, it's him or Bernie. We have no one else. All we have is Joe. So you have to endorse Joe. You have no other choice. And when it came down to choosing, like, oh my God, Bernie might be the nominee, they were thinking, oh, well, maybe we'll, we might have to vote for Trump because we can't have Bernie. So when you frame it that way as well, they are also fascists, considering they are willing to go for fascism over socialism. It's like, you're seriously willing, like, you call him Hitler, you call him a fascist, and yet you're willing to support him just so you can beat Bernie. Yep. Like, you are a fascist. You are all fascists. Because you support fascism because you don't want to do socialism. Amen. So yeah, fuck you.
Amen. Preach. Jackie, what's on your mind?
I was just going to define fascism because I feel like people don't know what the fuck that means. So let's just be clear.
Yep.
Go. Yeah.
Let's do it.
On Merriam-Webster, definition of fascism: 1, often capitalized, a political philosophy, movement, or regime, such as that of the fascisti, exalts nation and often race above the individual, and that stands for a centralized autocratic government headed by a dictatorial leader, severe economic and social regimentation, and forcible suppression of opposition. That's the United States.
Yeah.
2, a tendency toward or actual exercise of strong autocratic or dictatorial control. Okay, so that's the That's the Merriam-Webster definition. And the reason why I bring that up is because whenever people say, like, Trump is fascist, no, Trump would have loved to be fascist. But he couldn't, because literally every time he tried to do something to be like, I have spoken, I'm the president, you can't do anything about it, that's when one of the other segments of government, you know how we have like the checks and balances, you know, legislative, judicial, and executive, is executive, just so everybody remembers, okay, like third grade social studies.
Right.
His executive branch, okay? The second he would do something and be like, I, the president, declare it, the judicial branch would be like, nah, we're not going to let you do that. Oh, yeah, it may have taken a while, but they all pretty much... Huh?
He didn't even have military support. Like, anytime he wanted to do something, it was like, yes, sir, Mr. President, we're not doing that. Just forget that
I honestly think that's why they were called for him. Because think about it, okay? Look at all the presidents that we have had since Nixon walked away. Most of them, if not all of them, have done impeachable offenses.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them have committed impeachable offenses that literally cost lives. Not just one or two or four, which is why the whole Benghazi thing is bullshit. Four people can die in a car accident. Nobody gives a shit. When it's thousands of people, that's when everybody's like, oh, but that's policy. All of these presidents have blood on their hands. Not one of them, all of them have committed actual crimes, and like whether you're talking about like within our system, like with the United States laws or international law, they violated both of them, all of them. None of those fuckers had anybody ever come up and say we're going to impeach him, but they tried to impeach Trump twice. Why? Because it was the military-industrial complex that was trying to impeach him. It wasn't doing what they wanted him to do.
Yep, Trump made too many real enemies.
That kind of goes back to the idea that, you know, people are always like, well, you know, every single president after World War II, if you go by the Geneva Convention, has committed war crimes. What are you going to do? Impeach every president? It's like, sure, why not?
Let's fucking do it.
Exactly.
I'm fucking down.
If you impeach them, maybe the next one won't violate it. It's like, you know, the exact same thing that they said when they were like, oh, we have to impeach him after he's already left office. What? Oh, no. What? Well, we have to impeach him after he's already left office so that the next guy won't do it. Okay, well, if that's the case, why didn't you impeach all of the fuckers that came before him? Because the Clintons, the Obamas, both sets of Bushes, Reagan, all of them motherfuckers should have been impeached. All of them.
Mm-hmm. Or like, how was
Nancy Pelosi admitted that she knew that George W. Bush was committing treasonable actions, and she was like, what am I going to do, impeach him?
Like, yes.
Yes.
Yes. It's literally in your power. You have the ability to do that. And you're like, nah, he's all right.
Liberals piss me off when they say stuff like, in America, no one's above the law. Like, yes, clearly people are above the law. Clearly, because we just brought up the crimes of the United States presidents. And
yeah, when they say that, they only mean poor people.
So you must either come to two conclusions. The first conclusion, which is a joke, is that no United States president has ever committed a crime. I pause to give people some time to laugh at that, because if you believe that, you're a fucking clown. The second alternative is that U.S. presidents have committed a crime, yet we never prosecuted one before. So which one do you think is likely? So it seems to me that we literally live in a system where people are above the law, and that's why I don't know why. Like, we point out the actual human toll, the human suffering, and that's why Jackie accurately says that she believed Biden is a fascist as well. I mean, because when you look at the human suffering and what they're actually doing, like, it's not any different than what you guys are decrying as fascists, because we have an overall system that is supportive of that. I mean, Trump wasn't able to get his agenda done by some miracle. I mean, if anything, he was massively incompetent. If he was a little bit more competent, we'd be really fucked, because we'd be in World War III right now. Because trust me, he tried, but he's a dumbass. He couldn't get it really done. He tried to assassinate one of their military generals to get it done, but thank God Iran has a lot of restraint. It's like, this motherfucker crazy. We just gotta wait this motherfucker out 4 years. But they even said that Biden had the same foreign policy that Trump has right now. Why do you think that is? Why do you think I predicted the fact that the United States wasn't going to end its support of the genocide in Yemen? Why do you think I predicted the fact that no matter who won, we would see support of the Venezuelan coup? Because once again, the overall giant direction of the U.S. empire and our state as a whole, it does not massively shift between presidents. Like, they were scared at Trump at first, but they didn't misunderstood what Trump wanted. And this is my interpretation of it. My interpretation of it, with Trump just wanted to be part of the club. He obviously wasn't, because you saw how he was treated. Because the fact they even tried, like Jackie pointed out, that they impeached that motherfucker, even though all the other presidents did impeachable offenses, and they didn't even get him on the right stuff. Because at the end of the day, he wasn't part of the club. He wanted their approval.
Didn't get him on the right stuff because so what we would consider the right stuff would be the things that all the other presidents did that was impeachable too.
Exactly.
That's why they weren't going to go after him for Syria or for emoluments. They're only going to go after him for shit that they were fairly certain that they couldn't get caught for, which is bullshit, because Joe Biden did the exact same thing that Trump did. As a matter of fact, so Trump couldn't get, like, he got released in the Senate because in the phone call, which is, it's so dumb that they tried to impeach him over a phone call, but whatever. In the phone call, he didn't say just for that, right? Which is quid pro quo, okay? But Biden literally said in his phone call to the exact same people, it's not even like, oh, but he was talking to, China. No, literally the same people that he was on, the same country, the same situation. But Biden actually said, I'm not going to do X until you do Y. That's this for that, okay? That was literally
the same stuff. Literally.
Actually said it. And people are like, oh, but that's different. And people keep doing this shit for Biden. Biden's, the Democrats' plan for COVID is the exact same thing as the Republicans' plan for COVID. It's herd immunity. But now that the Democrats are in charge, they're like, well, we gave you the vaccine. No, you fucking didn't. It was actually Trump. Because the vaccine still came out when Trump was in charge. Mm-hmm. And the reason why the vaccine came out while Trump was in charge is because he relaxed the requirements that would have made it take at least another year. It was like, yeah, we're just going to go ahead and do away with those so that we can rush your vaccine.
Yep.
That's what they did. Mm-hmm. And now, but when back then, when he did that, the Democrats were like, that's terrible. That won't work. You can't rush a vaccine. But now that it's the Democrats that are in charge, now they're taking credit for the vaccine. They were just saying, oh, you can't rush a vaccine. Now they're like, well, we gave you the vaccine. No, you fucking didn't. Okay.
Yes.
And now
it's the same thing with reopening schools.
Exactly. They were like, oh,
they just changed the regulation.
Exactly.
Changed 6 feet to 3, right? Yep.
Last year, when Trump actually said, like, herd immunity will kick in, and remember when he said, like, back in I think it was like February, he was like, oh, by summer, like, this should all be over, because he was thinking, like,
hold it for real quick, guys.
He was saying, like, with the sun and everything, that, he was thinking it was like the flu, in that, flu season ends and you have like a normal summer. So, and people were saying that he was an idiot, but if that's the way the scientists explained it to him, he's not an idiot. He just thought that, like, the season was going to end. And you know what? Other countries it did, but other countries also did things like contact tracing and mass testing. We did none of that, so we were just spreading it, back and forth.
Exactly.
So when all of that happened, everybody was saying, oh, Trump is dangerous. He wants herd immunity. Do you know how many people are going to get killed? But now that the Democrats are saying, here, herd immunity, people are like, oh, we're safe now. It's the same fucking thing. It's literally the same thing. Oh, but we have a vaccine now. Trump is the one who gave us the vaccine. How are people? We literally have the attention goldfish that we believe this shit. The vaccine came out before the election. Like, we got the news of the vaccine before the like when they were. I think we knew that the vaccine was going to come out before we were sure that Biden was going to be president.
Exactly. Like, they have no critical thinking skills at all. It's the thing that pisses me off about
this is it makes it sound like I'm pro-Trump, and I'm not.
I know.
I'm not at all.
I know.
Okay.
It's a shame that we even had to say that. It's a shame.
Rocky Flame. Now it's the original host, Jackie and Meganator.
Yep, I am. I was just about to say the show was in its natural form, and the correspondent is back. Rocky,
Yes,
you're an asshole.
glorified correspondent has returned.
You are
Tamara,
an asshole.
we're talking about the vaccine. Private companies produce the vaccine, but as far as the testing that goes on, almost every drug or vaccine that we have is not actually done by private companies. The science behind that is publicly funded. But the pharmaceutical companies patenting is their particular brand of that. So basically, the formula is done by public funding of scientists, and then we allow these like billionaire companies to come in and put their finger on it and say the only way you can get it is to pay me a lot of money. So it's a scam,
Right.
basically.
Wow.
That's why I say get rid of them. We don't need them because they're literally like insurance companies, pharmaceutical companies. They're just gangsters taking money. They
Exactly.
want their cut.
I mean,
That's the biggest thing that pissed me off about this is the amount of
You
profits
know-
and the fact that they already talking about trying to jack up prices if they're gonna have to have annual boosters. I mean, this kind of stuff that we are hearing from big pharma executives. So it's like it just really sucks that this is where the means of production is concentrated with these big pharma motherfuckers. But go ahead, Meg.
what's so ridiculous about that too is that one of the reasons that so many countries can't get the vaccine is because one, the United States is hoarding it considering they order so much supply.
Yeah,
And
that's a giant problem too.
And there was a patent-free vaccine ready in Finland months ago that had no patent, but they didn't want it because then the pharmaceutical companies couldn't make money off of it because there was no patent.
Right.
Well,
It's
it's just like when the vaccine, before the vaccine, when the pandemic first started, New Zealand were the countries that were like, okay, let's figure this shit out. And they did. And then Cuba had their shit down so well that they went around the world helping people, except to the U.S., because the U.S. was like, we don't need your socialism. You keep your socialism and your communism over there. We're going to keep our capitalism so that everybody can be hungry and die on the streets.
So the problem,
American exceptionalism.
the problem I'm hearing with the vaccine, because Meg brought up the fact that the United States is hoarding it. Like, wouldn't that just create a situation where we're not able to get like vulnerable international communities to be necessarily immune with us, and they'll only make the situation worse by the fact that we had inequitable spread of the vaccine? That seems like a pretty big deal, isn't it? Like, if we can't have a universal coverage of the vaccine, that's not gonna completely eliminate the virus and only give the virus a chance to mutate, which would defeat the entire purpose of the vaccine. Am I right on that? Like, that was the take I was getting. That would seem like why it was really devastating to see that.
Yeah,
So,
Rajan is saying it right. The U.S. is hoarding it and forcing patents so they can utilize price gouging. Absolutely
Yeah.
right.
So what was your thought, Jackie? I think you know a little bit more about this than I do.
First thing I need to let everybody understand about this vaccine, it was pushed through. Okay, this vaccine is merely the instrument by which herd immunity can happen. Because it is not a vaccine. A lot of people think of this as a traditional vaccine of like polio. You know, you get the polio vaccine, you're not going to get polio, right?
That's like
Yeah.
a flu
No.
shot.
This is not that at all. Like you said, it's more like a flu shot. You can still get it. You can still spread it. The only difference is if you get it, it won't kill you, so that you can cut down on hospitalizations. That's why we can have the herd immunity.
Yep.
That's why it's an instrument for herd immunity. So a lot of people, to me, what's really dangerous, is people think, oh, and by the way, when I say you can still get it, you can get it at any time. A lot of people are like, well, yeah, because it takes like 2 weeks to 2 months for it to happen, and you have to get both shots. No. Once you are 100% fully vaccinated, and it has hit your system, you can still get it, and you can still spread it. You just won't die from it once it has kicked into your system. If you just go and get the shot today, nothing's going to change in your body. Like, your body is changing, but if you get it, you can still get really sick from it, and you can still die from COVID if you get it like within a couple days or a couple weeks of getting the shot, especially if it's just the first shot. Because from what I understand, with the 2-shot doses, the first shot's only about 50% effective. You don't get the second shot, the first shot wears off, and you pretty much have done nothing. So there's a lot, and the reason why, because a lot of people ask this question, why don't they tell us this? Because RJ asked this question yesterday. He was like, how come they don't let us know this? Because they need everyone to get vaccinated in order for herd immunity to work, and they don't want to scare people away from the shots. They don't want people to think, well, then it's useless. Why bother? They want everybody to get vaccinated because that's the only way herd immunity can work. So that's why they're withholding information, or they're just kind of with the information, so that hopefully you don't hear that part and you just get the shot anyway.
So, yeah. Jamry, I just want to share the story he put in there. Just pretty much outline the fact that taxpayer money is the one funding this stuff, but it just always drove me the wrong way that we're going to see massive profit. I think Jamry said 70%. I think the number I saw in the chat, I won't get it wrong, that funded this vaccine. Yeah, Jamry said at least 70% is public funded. So that really rubs me the wrong way. Because once again, they're already talking about price gouging, all that kind of stuff. So as a staunch anti-capitalist, this is like one of the first things that really drives me crazy about this whole vaccination situation. Let's see what else. What other stories are being dropped in. I think I see I Envy Me post something. We can do a few rapid fire comments, rapid fire stories, and wrap up from there. We're about 2 hours in. I think it said Biden. Let's see what this story that I Envy. He always leaves good stories in the chat. Let's see what to say. The Bolivian government. So I think he's saying Joe Biden trying to set up the coup for Bolivia. Wouldn't surprise me. This is more of the same unhinged foreign policy on Joe Biden's part. Too bad from Washington Post. Like, damn, this shit got a lot of quote tweets already. So this from March 18th. The Bolivian government is on a lawless course. Like, look at this manufacturing is saying. Let's see if they let me read it. I doubt it. Like, I've got that New York Times story. I just so happened to be under the limit for whatever the. Let's see if we can actually see what they're saying here. But for now, they are manufacturing the idea that the Bolivian government is lawless. I mean, this comes from the government that just illegally bombed another country. Like,
I love that this headline is democracy must be preserved, coming from a paper that or from a journal, supposedly, that in order to read it, you have to pay them.
Yes. I love that point. That's such a good point. So this democracy is super important, but pay us for it.
Yes.
The dude said democracy dies when we think it should. That's funny.
Yeah, that's the American way. You can have democracy, but you must pay for it.
Let's see what this means. This means got a lot of likes on it, so I want to see what it said. It said, "Hi, I'm from the CIA. You may remember me from such films as WMDs in Iraq. We don't know how this cocaine is getting here. And look, it's the Russians." That's pretty good. Pretty good stuff. So I see they getting dragged. I missed this tweet, but you can tell, and this is how I'm able to predict how Biden foreign policy was going to go. You can tell how the U.S. foreign policy is going to go based on how the media is covering different countries in the world. Whenever you see the media attacking a country, the U.S. must have an interest in destabilizing that government one way or another. Whenever you see us very apologetic towards certain countries, that's how you know that the U.S. have vested interest in continuing to prop them up. Israel being the best example, but there are many of them. So that's pretty much a good... I mean, once again, not everything black and white in politics. I'm not one of the people that want to just sell anything in black and white, because I do see some critical stories about Saudi Arabia. But I do think that's a good guideline to overall operate on, right? See what else we have here as we wind down on this stream here. Then we about close.
Notice when the other dude leaves, it's time for him to wind the stream down.
So we're gonna have the show. I think we're gonna do this every Tuesday, right, Jackie? So I use that as a shield so I can't be canceled anymore. So I'm like, well, you can at least tune in on Tuesday. I'm gonna try to have JB gonna probably be on sometime later this week. Maybe Friday.
I was actually talking about for FHL, genius.
Oh wait, what I missed? We had a communication breakdown. What happened?
I was talking to you on FHL. We were talking about FHL.
Okay, I completely missed what was going on here. Netanyahu training. Let's see why he's training. Let's just hit a few more stories so I can hit even hour. Even 2 hours. Benjamin Netanyahu. Oh fuck! I don't want to see him training for that. It said Israel election. Let me put it up on the screen. Israel election exit polls favor Netanyahu. What the fuck? So wait. I'm confused. I need to look into this story a little bit more because I literally just heard this motherfucker was on trial for corruption. I didn't get my hopes up, but damn, it kind of sucks how that led to nothing, wasn't it? Like what happened to that story? Anyone know? I need to look into that a little bit more. But that is not why they want to see Netanyahu trending. I was hoping it was more stuff on the corruption. So, I guess that's one story. Let's see if we got any more information. Netanyahu is letting Israel fascists enter by the front door. I was telling people, like, Benjamin Netanyahu has a very cozy relationship with Kamala Harris in the Democratic Party. But we point out on the show, and we go through multiple examples of his racism, his fascism, and his war crimes, and the fact that he's fucking operating an apartheid state. It's like, how do you have Trump derangement syndrome, but you don't hate Benjamin Netanyahu? All right, damn it. All right,
the two of us.
I hate Discord.
Oh, goodness, he has the worst internet, I swear.
But I was saying before, that's how I know that it's about time. But as I was saying, I don't know how people can have Trump derangement syndrome, but they're okay with Benjamin Netanyahu. That exposes him as a fraud because Kamala Harris, I mean, there's multiple pictures of them being buddy, and she's very public in her support and her being very complimentary towards Benjamin Netanyahu. But I want to dive more into the story a little bit later, but I mean, this is just another example of why Benjamin Netanyahu is about as bad as it gets. See, just more. This is some media on Netanyahu. This is another one on X Post. I was trying to see. I'll desperately try to find another headline because I would hate to end on the fact that Netanyahu is killing the X Post. X Post indicate no clear winner in the Israeli election, leaving Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's future uncertain. Okay, so this is something that says something different from an hour ago. Let's see. So the first story says, all right, so this from 9 minutes ago. So I think this is probably the more accurate one. So 9 minutes ago says the X Post favored Netanyahu. An hour ago says it was up in the air. So anything else that we should talk about? Cause I think this is about time. We're about 2 hours in.
I do have a question.
Go ahead.
Did you cover the Asian hate and the shootings that have been going on? Because there was a shooting in Colorado. It's not...
Yeah.
That one, I don't think was Asian hate, but the one before that was. And, of course, the media was like, just like Nashville! Just like Nashville!
We can speak on that.
There was a bombing in Nashville on Christmas Day, and you didn't hear about it. Nobody heard about it. Why?
Yeah.
Because they saw who it was. And when his cousin goes to Colorado and shoots up people, and when his nephew is over like shooting up like Asian massage places, then they're like, well, he had a bad day.
Yep. This is why we see the enemies.
So crazy. What's so crazy about that too is that the cop who said that also has a problem with Asians.
For real, like I looked at the story on the surface level. I didn't see like all the racist so-called accusations. Like that's crazy.
He had posted a link to a T-shirt that says something about like COVID came from China or something like that.
Oh Jesus Christ! I did.
No, it doesn't matter. Everybody's focusing on like, oh, the China virus and COVID came from China. It may have started there, but it mutated here. Exactly. And the reason why it did that so many times is because we did fuck all about it. If you got COVID or if you got laid off due to the pandemic, don't blame China. Blame your elected officials who don't have your back and didn't give a shit about you. Because again, there are countries like New Zealand and Cuba who actually did things about it and who actually protected their citizens. So you need to look in the mirror. The U.S. is incapable of seeing themselves in the mirror. We are the ultimate narcissist. We can't see our own shit because we're too busy doing shit to other people, and then we blame other people for our problems, for the things that we did. And then, like, for example, like in the Middle East, we go around and we bomb people, or we threaten to bomb people, and then if they try to build arms to protect themselves, we go, you can't do that, because I might want to come and bomb you again. How dare you?
We're the evil empire.
or God forbid they decide to fight back, and so, now we have to drop bombs on you. In another sovereign country, which is why we bombed Syria.
Yeah, we provoke and we provoke and we provoke. And then when we get a little bit of pushback because all the provokes, we have mass retaliation. This is how the U.S. empire has operated. It's how we breed conflicts and destabilize countries. So I'm glad that was brought up. Let's see what's Jamboree's put up.
I'm going to say something very unpopular right now and probably get canceled for it, but it's true. To me, it is the ultimate narcissism to say, never forget 9/11. We constantly forget all the 9/11s that we do. We do this shit every single month.
Yeah, that's a good point.
We don't even acknowledge the people that we kill, but when somebody has the nerve to do anything to us, we're all up in our feelings, and it's an international incident, and everybody should feel sorry for us.
Dude, compared to what we did to Iraq, dude, compared to what happened to Yemen and the genocide that's going there and the mass starvation of children that's going on there, I mean, 9/11 nothing compared to that. It's like, not only do we not acknowledge it, is the stuff that we gone through is nothing compared to what we have done to state to other people. I mean, look at the nuclear.
Our own people.
Yeah, that's a good point too.
People starve to death in this country because we don't give a shit about you if you don't have money.
Look at homeless people.
People die because they can't afford their health care. They can't afford medication. They can't afford to go to the doctor. How many people die because of that? Way more people than died on 9/11. Shit. There are so many people. At one point during the pandemic, we got to the point where more people were dying per day due to COVID in this country than died on 9/11.
Exactly.
Nobody says remember the pandemic. Because we did that to ourselves. Because it doesn't matter that the virus came from China. We're supposed to be the country that figures everything out. We're the ones with all the big brain scientists that we took from Germany. We're the ones who...
No one want to talk about that.
We're the ones with all the technology, right? We're supposed to figure it out. So why didn't we lock down until we had done that? Why didn't... because of our freedoms. Yeah, we have the freedom to spread disease to each other and to get each other killed. Mm-hmm. Saying. I can't stand, I hate narcissists. I absolutely fucking hate narcissists. Yeah. And I can't stand the fact that my nation as a whole is a narcissistic country. It just drives 100%. Me nuts.
Like, that's the one thing that, like, I mean, we're only from Canada, but it's amazing even that very slight difference. Considering, like, that's a conversation I have with my mom all the time. She's like, one of the biggest differences that I had to accept moving to the United States from Canada was the lack of community. And she tells me that all the time. It's like, nobody cares about each other here. There's no collective understanding. There's no community. Everyone's just out for themselves.
Yeah, we are the greater evil. Like Jackie said, if you look at the crimes that are committed on our own citizens, we literally commit war crimes on our own citizens who protest our government. And yet we have the nerve to call anyone else out. We got a nerve to try and fearmonger on North Korea or China. And once again, there was the big polling that was done. I think it was 2013, where they asked people who were the greatest evil, and America won by a landslide because people acknowledge that America is the only country to ever nuke someone. Like, you want to talk about like massive human suffering and evils inflicted on the world? There's nothing that tops what. Well, like the thing is, I don't really want to say nothing because like, damn, we did a fucking lot. But you guys know what I'm saying. Our nuclear Hiroshima is about as bad as it gets. But go ahead, Jackie.
No. That's not as bad as it gets. Because you want to know what's worse? The fact that we've nuked other countries, but we didn't put it in the history books because there wasn't a war going on.
Facts.
That's fucked up.
Facts.
We have nuked entire islands out of existence. And then we lied to them and told them, we're we're pretty sure the radiation stopped. You can move back now, knowing full well it didn't, just because we didn't want to have to pay to relocate them.
Yeah, and I heard that they also did that because they want to kind of see what the reaction. Like they also still kind of curious, so that's even more fucked up, right?
Yeah, because I mean, maybe that's what happens when you take Nazi scientists and incorporate them into your science pool.
Like that.
Operation Paperclip is not just like Hydra from like Operation Paperclip. It's not just Hydra from the Marvel movies. Like Marvel took it from real life. That actually happened.
Yep, the best fiction is based in reality.
Because of a Nazi scientist. That's actual fact.
Yeah.
So
I mean, even consider the fact that the Nazis got a lot of their ideas from us.
Yeah, they was inspired. They actually took a lot of stuff from the black codes and the and slavery and how we genocided Native American people. They was very open about how they got a lot of ideas from the genocide of Native American, how they treated Black Americans. So it's a great point as well. We are the greatest evil. So that's the thing.
It's just a codependent cesspool. It's gross.
There we go. So
and the really fucked up thing is, if you want to, everybody keeps saying like, oh, socialism and communism have never worked. Well, yeah, that's because you have empires like the U.S. making sure they don't. That's literally the point of the Cold War. The Cold War was, we want our system to win, and we're going to fight you under the table to make sure yours doesn't.
Exactly.
And this is why I say we are the greatest, most propagandized country. Because most people don't even understand U.S. history. If you don't understand the history of the CIA and us destabilizing other countries, you have barely any knowledge of the U.S. history. I would say if you don't know anything about that, like you got a very surface level, rudimentary understanding of what our country even is. Like it's accurate to say you don't even understand.
I would say if you don't have any idea of how the U.S. has done it to the U.S., because we have done it, the CIA has done so many psyops on its own people.
Oh my god!
And I'm not just talking MK Ultra, which actually also happened. I'm talking about, like, for example, if you want, most normal people are like, I don't want to kill people, unless they like. The only time you can really get people to say yes, let's go to war. There's two ways. Number one, they hit you first, and you do it in retaliation. Number two is when you say, this guy is an evil dictator who's killing his own people. We need to stop them, like a humanitarian thing. Mm-hmm. And so the U.S. has found just all of these evil dictators in the Middle East. The only problem is, they're not the evil dictators. They're the ones who uprooted the evil dictators that were there, that were put in place by the U.S. government. When the radicals rise up and they dethrone those evil dictators, that's when the U.S. is like, okay, we got to do something about this, because I don't think they're going to let us steal their resources anymore. So, evil dictator, we got to take them down. Almost every single time, the U.S. narrative has been, this guy's evil, we got to take him down. It's almost always the opposite. Perfect example is Fidel Castro. Everybody's like, oh, he was so evil, he did all these horrible things. Okay, who was the guy that he dethroned? The guy that he replaced was legitimately evil. Like, if Castro was so horrible, then why did their reading comprehension go from, what was that, things like 2% or 10% to literally 98%? The U.S. does not have 98%.
Oh, you mean the literacy rate?
Yeah, that was one of the things that blew away, like back when I was a little, that was one thing that blew away my perceptions of a lot of the states that we did propaganda on, is what the resources they did and what they will accomplish on literacy, uplifting people out of poverty, like their actual improvement of social mobility, like, cause they don't teach you that kind of stuff. Like, so like for me personally,
reason why they don't teach you that stuff is because, like, actually, do you know there are Wikipedia articles that actually bring this out? So if Wikipedia tells you, like, that means
that's how you know they can't hide it.
Okay, yeah. If it finally hits the pages of Wikipedia, then you know that they're like, okay, the U.S. people are so propagandized that we can just tell them the truth and they still won't believe it. That's the level we are at right now. So the CIA has been doing psyops on this nation since before JFK.
Yep.
But it's
most
just
definitely.
and it's taken root so well that now they don't even have to hide anything. They can tell us the truth. And I honestly think that that's what the information age is about. You flood everybody with so much information, and then you don't teach them how to parse the truth. So then people just latch onto whatever they feel is right. And since you've been leading them down a path, you've been giving them the advertising to tell them this is what's right, this is what's right. Then all you have to do is just flood the airways with information. You can tell the truth, so the truth is technically out there, but then you make the lies sound more palpable. So everybody wants to believe it, so they do.
Yeah, and it's exactly the same thing as like the FBI with like MLK. And putting out stories about MLK and make MLK look bad, like the fact that, you know, if he was having an affair or whatever, which who even knows if that's actually true. I don't honestly don't know if I actually believe that or that he was having affairs. I have no idea. I don't actually believe it. Or like what they did to Fred Hampton. Like I don't know if you guys have seen that film yet about Judas and the Black Messiah. You guys have got to watch it if you haven't watched it.
Yeah, I still need to watch it. I need to check it out here soon.
But have until March 31st, and then it goes off HBO Max, by the way.
Yeah, you gotta watch it though, Nick.
Yeah,
okay, yeah. All right, yeah, I gotta check it. I need to check it out ASAP then. But everything we bring up right now is why I come to the conclusion that America is the most propagandized country. I take what our corporate media is telling us, how we was groomed by the CIA, what we were taught through our public schooling. When you look at this is the most comprehensive and most successful propaganda program that I've ever seen. I mean, this is me trying to be objective as well, because people here don't even understand they are being propagandized. Like people don't even like people when we talk about the CIA and once again Operation Paperclip. I mean, that's a true thing that actually fucking happened. But how many people know about that? How many people actually know about a lot of the true things that actually happened that the CIA is responsible with in terms of grooming us? These things that are open knowledge. I mean, I'm glad that IMV shared this clip because I wanted to go over this as well because this was shared by my good friend Alicia. We don't see her a lot these days, but she does a lot of good reporting on the CIA and foreign policy, and this what this video had to say. I want to watch this because I think I've seen this clip before. It was a while ago, but I think I have. But it's an amazing clip that breaks down U.S. propaganda in a very simple way. Former CIA agent and whistleblower Philip Agee explains that the U.S. wages economic war against socialist nations because it is threatened by a successful example of an alternative economic system. So actually, let's hear it from his own voice here.
But one area that ought not to be forgotten is Cuba, because there is a 35-year economic blockade going against Cuba still, and there are those people who are trying to intensify this and broaden it still more now. The CIA, without the slightest doubt, has the requirement in every country to report on any possible trade deals that Cuba may be interested in making, or investment in Cuba now that the country has opened up. And the CIA has got to collect this information so that measures can be taken to sabotage these possible deals of interest and benefit to Cuba. I was there last year, and I was in a meeting being addressed by Roberto Robaina. He is the foreign minister, very young, hip guy. And he was telling us that of every 10 possible deals they have for investment in Cuba or for trade, the United States is able to squash 9. And so they know perfectly well that every move they make as they go around the world in trade negotiations or in seeking investment for whatever in Cuba, they are being followed and watched under a microscope so that some measure can be taken. It could be the ambassador with the local government. It could be any way they can approach the person and put the pressure on. There's a good example of this, for example. The Soviets built a large petroleum refinery very near Cienfuegos, which is the main city on the south coast. This was never put into operation before the collapse of the Soviet Union, and then there was a diminution in trade, and the Cubans finally convinced or made a deal with the Ecuadorians, which are one of the principal exporting countries, and they were to bring the petroleum from Ecuador to Cuba to this refinery refine the products, and re-export, leaving behind a certain amount of production to pay for the use of the refinery. This was going to be a great deal for Cuba because they have an energy crisis.
The video goes on. I don't know if I want to watch the whole thing, but my point, what I want to bring up here, is the tide is finally turning in terms of the amount of people who are starting to prefer socialism over capitalism. But our overall point, when I talk about how U.S. is the most propagandized country, I guarantee. Maybe I'll put the link of the tweet so you gotta watch the whole video. But it's pretty long. I think there's like 4 more videos there. But a lot of people don't understand that our state actually destabilized socialist governments in order to prop up capitalism, so we don't see a successful alternative system. So when you see the amount of people who say they prefer capitalism to socialism, the question I ask: how many people that say they prefer capitalism or socialism actually knows this? I mean, I would be surprised. I mean, we can throw numbers out there. What, 5%? 1%, 5% of people say they prefer capitalism, understand what the CIA done to socialist countries, because those same people will say, hey, look at the socialist country over here. This is why socialism doesn't work. Ignoring the fact that the CIA most likely destabilized them. We also we see it in real time now with Venezuela and a lot of the other socialist countries where we put crippling sanctions on them, and then we turn around and say, hey, look, this country falling apart. I'm like, because our sanctions. So that's why I think that clip was important, because once again we see the propaganda not just come from the media. Because when I say America the most propagandized country, they were like, oh, they probably just immediately think in the newsroom, which once again I would double down and say, even if you just look at the newsroom, we are insanely propagandized. But I'm talking about in terms of public education, where it comes from, what the CIA is working on, what the police state does, the police propaganda that come out there. I mean, from every level, propaganda is hitting us at every fucking angle. And it's almost impossible to quantify how much we are propagandized. But I know for a damn fact that I don't see any other country with the level of complexity and infrastructure to their propaganda. So, what are you guys' thoughts on that clip? I think we're about 2 hours 15 minutes since I'm gonna call it here. But we're gonna do this show every Tuesday, right? I have a
question for Young Brax.
Yeah, go ahead.
Young Brax just said that capitalism isn't bad in itself. They're both sustainable. And I asked the question, how is capitalism sustainable? Because with capitalism, you ruin the planet you live on because you can get more money that way. And you know that by the time any effects of that are going to actually be seen, you'll be long dead, but you'll have enjoyed the money. That's capitalism. Socialism is, hey, if this is going to be bad for the whole planet, maybe we shouldn't fucking do it. Maybe we should come up with a different way of doing this. Maybe we just shouldn't do it at all.
And there are a lot of mechanisms you can do that with socialism that you can't do with capitalism, because capitalism is all about maximizing profit. So a lot of these solutions that you can implement that can help fight the climate crisis, we're kind of too late now. But if you look at a lot of the mechanisms, like where we can invest in green energy, where we can actually pull the resources where we need to fight that, but under capitalism, there's not a profit motive to do that. In fact, there was a study, maybe I'm going to dive more comprehensive, but there was a pretty new study, I think I saw Matt covering it, how you had executives from natural oil companies that long since knew about the damage for climate change. Once again, they just won. There was a study done about tobacco companies that know as well. But the oil companies, they know about the damage done by climate change, but they actively fought against it because they did the calculation that it will actually be more cost effective to lobby politicians to fight climate change than it would to rehaul their industry. So does that be under capitalism? And that's why in the long term, I don't think it's sustainable. And Young Brax said business ruined American capitalism, but you can argue that this is late stage capitalism and this is inevitable, because what's going to happen when you have the giant what's the term I'm looking for? Giant pools of wealth that pretty much corporations that continue to grow. What they do, they just buy out competition. We see it now. I mean, this is bound to happen, whether it take 10 years, 15 years, 100 years. I mean, due to the mechanism of the capitalism market, you're going to have businesses eat each other, and then the business eventually can get too big where they can't be governed, where they pay out politicians, they get favorable rules. I mean, this is the concept of late state capitalism, because this is inevitable. Because even if you have good policy,
So
go ahead, Jackie.
the Young Rex, before that, he said not necessarily that's unregulated capitalism. There needs to be proper regulation, just like socialism needs certain restrictions as well. Okay, so here's the problem with that. Who's going to regulate capitalism? Because in a capitalist system, greed is the creed. So who's gonna watch the watchers? Who's gonna regulate capitalism? By the way, unregulated capitalism would actually be better than regulated capitalism, and here's why. With unregulated capitalism, meaning there's no checks and balances, but there's also no safety net. If you fuck up, like say in 2008, and you create a bubble because you have no regulations, when you fail, and you go out of business. So then what happens? The next businesses start to regulate their damn selves because they don't want that to happen. Unregulated is actually easier than the bullshit regulations that we have now, which, by the way, are written by the corporations themselves. The corporations write the bills, and then they give it to the senators along with a big pile of money, and they're like, hey, go ahead and pass this. And then senators pretend to debate it, knowing full well both Democrats and Republicans are going to push this through.
And the big problem, the big problem with that is that those are regulations that they can meet, but smaller businesses can't, so they can crush their competition. So it's not good for free market.
Exactly. And so then later on they said people should be able to profit on their ideas and businesses. Big business ruined American capitalism. I have two things for that. Number one, you say big business ruined American capitalism. Where do you think every single big business started out? Walmart is a huge corporation. Started with one man. Amazon, biggest market in the world, started with one man. They all start as big businesses, and then what do? They take advantage of the system, they game the system, then they control the system, like Megan just said, to make sure nobody else can be their competition. So you can't say like, oh, it's just big businesses, because big businesses started as small businesses. There's not one single business that opened as a big business. They start with one company, even Macy's, you start with one store, and then you branch out. The second thing I have to say about that is you say people should be able to profit on their ideas and businesses. Do you think socialism doesn't have a financial system? You can still profit under socialism. Yeah. It's just fair. It's just the people who are, when people should be able to profit on their ideas. And you say people, let me see the exact quote. And
that's one thing that I responded. Like you're confusing commerce with capitalism.
Yeah, there's so many people that get confused that think that like markets exist no matter what economic model you're looking at. It's just how the market is regulated, with how the resources are being spent. So that we see that with people who always argue in terms of capitalism or against socialism, they tend to misstate that. He claims to come from a neutral point of view, which is fair, but any sort of apologia towards capitalism tends to come towards with that innate misunderstanding. But I really do have to wrap up here. We can have this conversation. I know you had the last thought. I know you had the last thought though, Jackie. I know Jackie had the last thought, and then we can wrap up here.
Hold on, because I'm reading the rest of what he said. Young Greg says, and that's false because unregulated capitalism allows for companies to take 100% market share. Yeah, like they do now. And then meaning that there's no room for other companies, which allows these companies to overcharge or underpay. What internet company do you have? Which one of the 6 in the United States are you allowed to have based on your region? How do you honestly believe that doesn't happen right now? That's exactly what's happening right now. That's exactly my point. You're describing
a link.
Okay. What you're describing is the U.S. policy today. In unregulated capitalism, those companies would drive themselves, the companies that are too greedy would end up driving themselves out of business. And then other companies would benefit from seeing that and go, hey, maybe we need to regulate ourselves because there is no safety net. There is nobody coming to save you because the government won't step in unregulated capitalism. Unregulated means there's no, so like in 2008, And all of the insurance companies and the banks backed these loans that they knew they shouldn't have. If they had an unregulated capitalism, they all would have failed. There's no such thing as too big to fail. They all fail. System comes crashing down. What happens in the wake of that? A few companies that survive go, hey, we have to fix this. We need to regulate ourselves to make sure that we don't get that doesn't happen to us, because we don't want to end up exploding. That's unregulated capitalism is better than what we have now, because we have the regulations serve to help the corporations. They don't serve to help the everyday person. I think that's what you're not understanding. You think the regulations help us. They don't. The regulations screw us. Regulations are what allow Walmart, Tesla, and Amazon to be the ones to dictate foreign policy in the U.S.
Yeah.
Regulations are going against us.
Yeah. Yeah, I just posted a link that explains a lot of this.
I saw that.
If you go to the second tweet and click on the embedded tweet, it talks all about what capitalism actually is and how it does not reward productivity. It doesn't reward value. It does not reward hard work or ideas. It doesn't reward any of those things.
So this from Aaron Kolai. Great count. See here. I got it put up on the screen. This is a pretty good breakdown. Leftists want a fair.
Kolai.
Yeah, I already know I butchered that now. I don't know why I even tried. But let's read this and we can finish on this here. Leftists want a fair.
You're hungry, aren't you? You trying to go get some food?
Yeah, I'm starving. Leftists want a fair, democratic, and sustainable economy. Capitalism inherently and systematically delivers the opposite. If your long-term vision doesn't include replacing capitalism with something better, either you're not a leftist or you do not understand capitalism. He continues, wages are claimed to our share of collective economic efforts. A good economy will provide equitable wages, rewarding us for effort, sacrifices, or duration of work. Capitalism does any of these things. Then he quote tweets himself here. He said capitalism does not reward productivity, value, hard work, effort, sacrifice. Yeah, this is like pretty much like anyone who's got basic understanding socialism understands it. This is what radicalizes us in the first place. When we understand, I mean, if you have any sort of self-value, I mean, there's some sort of self-hatred that goes on if you're a worker who got Stockholm syndrome toward the capitalist system, because I mean, you must buy into the fact that your work has literally hundreds and hundreds of times less value than your CEO and your manager. But I'll be working, I'm like, bro, well, I see what I'm doing. Like, I understand you need to get paid a little bit more, but if you think you deserve to get paid 3-5 times more than I do what I'm doing, I'm just talking about on the managerial level. I'm like, bro, you full of shit. Like, so this is the kind of stuff that you can conclusion just by being a worker. I don't understand workers who have the Stockholm syndrome. But he can continue. Capitalism systematically rewards bargaining power, leading to massive inequalities. This kind of leads to what Jackie was saying. Actually, I think if I don't misread what she's saying, because she's saying that regulation actually helped big businesses, but in what he said right here, capitalism systematically rewards bargaining power. So that, I think that's what you're saying, right, Jackie? I can utilize where I ended on that. But that's a good thread. I don't have to read it all, but it's a pretty good layout. But I think that was kind of what you're saying. Anything you guys want to close with? But I really do have to wrap up. But that's a good thread that you linked there.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Megan.
the embedded thread is the embedded. No worries. The embedded thread is longer, but gives a really good explanation of capitalism and what it actually does reward, and kind of how capitalism works on like bargaining between the buyer and the seller. Who is the buyer? Who is the seller? And it's a great thread, so I highly recommend everyone read it.
Yeah, it was a pretty good thread. I dropped the file for that guy. Anything you wanna? Is there anything that you wanna close with, Jackie?
Yeah. So Young Brax again said that I don't think people should be paid $7.25 in this day and age. In a proper capitalistic society, people should be able to make their own money. You are literally describing socialism. People can make their own when you put in the labor. Okay, let's break it down like this. I'm just going to do a quick breakdown, and then I'll let you go eat. Okay, I know you're fading away like the withering little flower that you are.
I'm fading out here.
Nick,
huh?
And Nick, why don't you go get something to eat? We'll take back to the show. You can go eat for.
Right?
I don't see why not.
Go make yourself a sandwich.
We will be back. We're gonna be arguing with this guy forever. But go ahead, put an exclamation mark on it.
Okay, so I think what's your name? Young Brax? I think what Young Brax is trying to say is that I think Young Brax is kind of confusing the systems of capitalism, socialism, and communism. Okay? In socialism, literally everyone gets their fair share. In capitalism, if you come up with an idea, like say, you're like, hey, I invented this filament, but I don't know what to do with it. And then I come along and I say, ooh, I can put a piece of glass over it and then use it as a light bulb. I can make a ton of money and be known as the inventor of the light bulb, and I can patent that shit because I put it together. I took your idea for the filament and your idea for electricity and your idea for glass, but I put it together. I can make billions of dollars. I can become a billionaire. And you, who actually did the work or actually came up with the idea, you get nothing. And the people who, after I come up with the idea, I create a company and I borrow money from a bunch of different people. I put a company together and I sell this, and I decide that I'm going to charge $1 per light bulb. It takes 10 cents to make. Okay? That 90 cents goes to me. Meanwhile, the person who actually makes it, they don't even get the 10 cents because there's also, the people who actually make it get like 4 cents out of that 10 cents. Okay? What we're saying is, not even that. What we're saying is, hey, the person who invented the filament, the person who invented the glass casing, the person who came up with the electricity, all of those people get equal share in creating the light bulb. The people who create the light bulb and who actually deliver it to you are all getting a cut, because if anybody doesn't do their job, you don't have lights. So everybody gets a fair share. Your labor, be it physical labor or mental labor, you get paid a fair share. So if you can have a billionaire in that system, I'm fine with it.
So I think that's a good wrap up. Maybe you and Bryce can join us again next time, and we can. I don't mind debate. I don't mind that at all. But I think you guys are gonna enjoy the deeply serious political show every Tuesday. I think we're gonna do this. I think me and RJ are gonna have our show on Friday. But we need to have. I don't think Jackie's available on Friday. Anyway, we'll talk about that later. But anyway, hope you guys enjoy the show. The point is, you can expect this every Tuesday, but you can see Jackie on the show much more often too. I hope you guys enjoyed. Where can they find you guys at? Megan, other than Jackie, anything you want to plug before we cut the cord here?
Megan, you can just find me on Twitter. You can just find me on Twitter at KilljoyMeg. I don't have any projects going on right now yet. I will let you know if I
We will be excited about that, Jackie.
Something in the pipeline.
Jackie and I have been talking about it.
Oh, nice. Okay. I see you guys gonna surprise me. I'm hyped. So, what else, Jackie? Anything new? You guys want to plug anything?
Well, it's not new, but okay. One last thing, because I saw it and I have to say something. Avox said businesses require exploitation. Businesses don't require exploitation. Capitalism requires exploitation. You can have businesses in a socialist system where everyone is paid fairly. Businesses don't require. So what we're saying is profit can happen. I think a lot of people are confusing the systems, okay? In socialism, you can have businesses and profit can happen. The only difference is in capitalism, the people at the top decide how much profit everybody gets. They decide how much you are worth as a worker. Whereas in socialism, everybody gets a fair share of what comes in. It's literally all we're asking for is just everybody gets the share. So in other words, the people who work for Amazon, there's no Jeff Bezos is a billionaire. Instead, everybody who works for Amazon, nobody's making $15 an hour. Because if Amazon is that profitable, with all those people, everybody's making like $1 million a year. Because everybody who works for Amazon is putting in the work to make sure that it works. So
All right.
everybody gets their portion.
Young
okay.
Brax needs to be researching worker cooperatives.
we
Not everyone
educate.
does the same level of work. Okay, well then you are compensated according to your work. That's what we're saying. Okay.
Okay, so wait. So all right, let's wrap this up. Let's wrap this up because once again we can argue this dude all day. But anyway, hopefully he come on next time. We preach. We preach.
Hey, Box, you're good. I'm not trying to call you out. I'm just talking about like what Young Brax is talking about. But
Yeah.
Nick is really starting, and he's gonna he's gonna turn into a vampire if we don't let him eat. So I will just plug my podcast, Cinematic Adventures. It is cinematicadventurespodcast.com, or you can just Google Cinematic Adventures. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, it's there. I talk about movies there. I do live streams on VOP USA for Cinematic Adventures on the weekends. Check me out there. Nick, go get a sandwich.
Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Progressive martial artist. With the star of the show, Jackie, good friend Meg as well. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We're out. Peace out.